Hey, it's the Bennington Show on a Monday. Always fun when Vito makes the slightest mistake. The pain that he... Like with Vito, you do not even have to say you made a mistake because you could never hurt him as much as he hurts himself.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't an awful... It wasn't an awful write-up there. Vito, it was kind of fun. You put the Dodgers and Rams in. We are going to get into the mass shooting and, bomb stuff and all that. We're going to do some old school radio, and if you'd like to be a part of that, some old school talk radio talking about the shootings and as if there is ever any way to stop it. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. I will very quickly say that the New York, I think it was the Post that did it today, which I thought was kind of funny. Instead of putting Red Sox win, they put Dodgers lose on the back page. The Red Sox also trolled the Yankees, even though Chris and Earl, supposedly the two Yankees fans, picked them. You're their bitches right now.
Yeah, because after they win the fucking World Series against Los Angeles, in their locker room, they just start playing New York, New York. Fucking dicks. I want to be a part of it.
That's really funny. If that starts to become Boston's new fucking song,
that will kill me.
Since they pwn you bitches.
Jerk-offs.
Earl, was that difficult for you to see? Loved it.
I like the fact that even though they've won another World Series, they still can't get over the fact that New York still is in their brain.
Guess what?
They're still in their heads. They can't
How
let
many
it
this
go.
millennium?
This is since 2004, 4.
And how many for the Yankees?
1. 2, I'm sorry. 3. 2.
Who pwns who, Earl? Who's in whose kitchen? They own you now. The first 1,000 years, yes, you won. The second 1,000 years is Red Sox.
Actually, it's like history repeating itself because the Red Sox owned the first part of the early
1800s,
20th century. They were like the dominant team, and now
up until they
sold
traded
Babe Ruth.
to Babe. So they own you now. Here's another thing. He brings up the Rams, the only undefeated team, half the season undefeated. And I'm watching that game last night, and there's more Packers fans there than Rams fans. So it's still not known whether professional football can work in Los Angeles, despite the fact that they've certainly got the team of the first half.
Yeah, no one cares about football in Los Angeles. And look at a Chargers game, it's even worse because they're both Los Angeles Rams, Los Angeles Chargers.
You should change that to pro football because USC has always been popular. UCLA is more popular than the fucking Chargers, of course. So they do like football. And a lot of high school football is unbelievable in that area, but they do not jump into this pro football thing and seeing that many Packers fans there for a team that isn't even, I think, 500 or about 500.
Yeah, they're not having a great season.
It's shocking to me. Shocking to see that Los Angeles does not have Ram fever. All right, 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. Another horrific mass shooting takes place. A lot of people are blaming the president for the rhetoric, and some of the Republican Party, and some of the people out there who were saying George Soros is the one giving money to those people that are heading this way. They say that guy was angry about that when he went into a synagogue, who, by the way, has nothing to do with George Soros or anything else. It's just Jewish people. Part of it was having a bris. The other part was people. It's so fucking numbing, and at the same time, completely familiar, because that's what happens in the United States of America. I saw the president say, well, if they would have had armed guards, this wouldn't have happened. I don't see that ever happening. I don't think you're going to go to a church, a synagogue, and school and have people with automatic weapons and some kind of fucking machine gun nest happening. But I also don't see the banning of guns in this country. So is this just something that we accept? 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God, because that's where we are now. This is one of those things that comes up and we all feel is fucking just horrible. People, a couple that have been married for 60 some years killed. The 93 or 94-year-old woman killed. It just, that part of it even got to, what do you got to live a whole life and then end in something just so fucking crazy? The president says that, hey, we should really, have a very, very quick capital punishment with these kind of people. Then it'll stop. This guy had to run in there thinking he probably wasn't going to get out anyway. I don't think by the time you go into a school or a mall or anything else, you think you're going to get away with it. Have we ever had a mass shooter in history get away with it? Is there any mysterious things there? I don't think so. I don't know how this ends, but we really do need to end this. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. Earl Douglas.
Yes.
How can we end this in this country? How can this finally stop?
I think you really have to start with having real dialogue, just having a real, because everything is an extreme now. It's like, you're right, I'm wrong. There's
but
no
how will a
meeting
dialogue even stop this when people are locked into each their own side? What could you possibly say? Because I've heard both sides of this, and I've heard enough of, we have to ban guns to know that it's not going to happen. And I've heard enough that we need armed guards at every fucking mall and school and ice skating rink and movie theater to know that's not going to happen either. Or else I'm going to be getting into the armed guard business. I'm just going to open up a thing that just rents out armed guards.
I think the middle ground is, I don't think anyone wants to shoot each other. I mean, you said so many people who passed away. That there was a 97-year-old man who was a Holocaust survivor. He lost his life. A 94-year-old woman, I think she was also a Holocaust survivor. She lost her life. They have nothing to do with this. And I think the middle ground is like, wait a minute, now we're getting into areas where we're killing people who had zero to do with it.
Is there ever anybody, no one goes in and shoots up anything other than innocent people, whether it's a school, a movie theater. There's never been, these aren't mafia shootings where, we're going up against each other and we better do something. So I feel like your thing of the dialogue is something that people say, but it's not going to make any difference because I don't see people changing their mind. I just don't see that happening. And all that really happens is that after a couple of days, we end up forgetting it and we go back to business as usual. Chris Stanley, what do you got?
We have to move towards a total gun ban because, look, speaking to the armed guards, when I was in Mexico City, most of the businesses had armed guards in there to stop crime in Mexico City because it's rampant. But it was terrifying to have a person with a fucking gun standing there, even if they look bored or whatever, it was just a security guard with a gun waiting to stop.
But wouldn't you like to see this country be as safe as Mexico City? Isn't that what we want?
Exactly. When you get to the point where your armed guards are everywhere, you're not fucking safe.
Dave in PA.
How you doing, Ron?
Hey.
I just want to say, I think the way they sensationalize everything in the press and they show everything on TV like it's an action movie, that part of it needs to go away. If they would put all the news about all these shootings and everything back in paper print where people actually had to pick it up and read it, there wouldn't be all this sensationalism.
Well, I do have to say this to you, Dave. We're never going back to newspapers. If anything else, newspapers are going to be gone relatively soon. And there's only a couple that I would consider real news gathering organizations. But if you went back to the 60s where you had the Texas guy in the tower, I mean, that was front page stories. If it bleeds, it leads. But you do think the fact that things are sensationalized on television is a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you see bad guys in the movies, sometimes you're sitting in that movie and you're thinking, oh, I hope this guy does all right. You're looking at the bad guy thinking, oh, I hope this mobster does okay, or this cocaine smuggler, man, he's so cool, he needs to get out of here.
Yeah.
But now we look at the press and we think, oh, this guy's a shooter, and there's girls that are writing him letters in prison trying to marry him. I mean, come on.
So you also see it a problem with Hollywood movies as well?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I'm confused then. All right, so it's the media for you. It's the 100% the media.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, buddy. Here is Ron in the city of Pittsburgh. Ron, how are you?
Good. How are you, Ron?
I'm hanging in there.
Every day.
Yeah.
I live in Pittsburgh, and I actually grew up in that neighborhood. And the sad fact is, the local police station was like a block and a half away from there. And when the cops showed up, the first cop that showed up, he shot the cops. He put 4 cops in the hospital.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the president to make a remark like that just shows how much politicians are way off base. That wouldn't have helped.
So what do we do, Ron? What do we do?
What we got to do is, you know what, Ron? I really don't know what the answer is. I really don't. To be honest with you, it's grossly out of hand.
It is out of hand, and it comes up, and it's oddly the norm. It's oddly the norm, and I saw this over the weekend. Have you guys ever seen? I think it's a TV show on PBS. It's called like Following Your Roots or something like that. And so this year they've been doing like, oh, here's Greek people, here's African American people, or whatever, English people, whatever it happens to be. They're kind of doing it this way. Well, there was one recently on about Jewish Americans. And Tony Kushner, the great playwright, and I think it's Kushner, not Kushner. I don't think anybody's name would be Kushner. But he did Angels in America. He also wrote Lincoln, so he's an Oscar winner writer. He's a Tony award-winning writer. And he was talking about his family's history, and some of that goes all the way back to the Holocaust, where he holds stories. And he had said, America has been the place in the whole world where Jews could find freedom. The safest place in the history of every country in the world has been America, compared to what has happened to them in other parts of the world with anti-Semitism. And I remember thinking, well, that's a very, that's a good way to be known as a country that has the American dream. And, and I saw that not long before I saw this. And it was the first thing to pop into my mind. I believe this was the worst attacks on Jewish people in the history of the United States, I believe. Certainly the worst mass killing like this. It's incredibly heartbreaking, and it looks like we'll never get out of this. There will be school shootings in our future, and mall shootings, and you name it, in our future. Church shootings. This says Arthur Wayne. Am I saying that correctly? Or is it Arthur
correct.
Wayne? Yeah. Okay.
It's Art from Wayne. I usually call him as Art, but Arthur's
okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just have a feeling, and it's been said before, this president does nothing to tamp down the rhetoric. After Charlottesville, when he said there's good people on both sides, what does it take to say that the Nazis are bad people? What does it take to say demonizing people is wrong, and that you bear a responsibility for the words that you say. I don't see him contributing to peace and harmony. I see him contributing to divisiveness. And I'm not saying he bears responsibility for this. It's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is he bears responsibility for the environment this country finds itself in.
Well, all right. Thanks for calling. All right, I appreciate
Sure.
it. Certainly, if you watch any kind of cable television, we are fighting every single day. We're calling each other the enemy, literally. The president, even after CNN had bombs sent there, was calling them the enemy of the people. I don't think, other than Fox News, that there is a news source in America that looks at Trump as a friend. You know what I mean? Yeah. As Trump is somebody that they can trust. So there's that. There is that on a daily basis. Now, we had these kind of mass shootings even before any of that happened. Before, CNN was the enemy and before Trump was the enemy. It is a part of American life. And it's something to be ashamed of, I think, for all of us. Hey, Dave in LA. What's up, buddy?
Hey, so the first caller, he was on to something. I don't think he articulated it the right way. If you look at like a bar graph of mass shootings and when they started or when they really became more prevalent, and kind of juxtapose that with social media, you really see a big uptick since like Facebook and Instagram and these 24-hour news cycles really kind of make these guys celebrities. You know what I mean? It makes these guys anti-heroes. Like I bet you can name probably 4 of the most recent mass shooters' names, but you probably couldn't name one victim. I bet.
No, I could not name their names. Leave me as quick as can be. And I know that we say, even this last guy, I saw it, I heard his name, it's already out of my mind. And because there's just too many, you couldn't fucking hold on to it. It's like naming pop stars. It's just you can't pull it up.
The minority, though.
But I want to bring this up to you. There was something that he was on called Gab, and I guess it's kind of a more hardcore Reddit or a hardcore
like a
Twitter
forum type thing where people can post and make posts and stuff like that.
Now, but there, I guess, is no clamping down there. You could say
no censoring.
Yeah, you could say Chris Stanley did this, and I'm going to kill him, whatever, and no one's going to censor him. So I saw this today that Gab is off the internet. There's no internet providers, which I've never heard of that kind of thing before.
Neither have I. No. I guess unless they're doing something illegal, but this was just a website forum.
Yeah, this was a website forum that wasn't putting up, would you say, illegal pictures or anything.
No.
It was a place that they were acting like they were the bastion of free speech. I know nothing about it. I haven't heard, other than when the name came up over the weekend. And then I saw this thing came out that no internet providers are allowing them to be on right now. And I saw people over the weekend going, hey, we got to find these crazy, angry people on the internet and go after them before. And I'm like, have you been to the internet? I kind of feel like if you are on social media, you see how many crazy, angry people there are. All you need to do is go to the comment section on any fucking place, and there's people threatening each other. It's pretty fucking amazing. It's pretty amazing how much anger and fucking craziness is out there. Hey, Dave, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Ronnie?
Hey.
Ronnie, it seems like the trend, I don't know, everybody used to kill themselves after a mass shooting. And lately, the last few years, the kid in, I think in Florida, he survived. Well, anyway, it just seems like these guys are not taking their own lives anymore, and they're being apprehended and they're being taken because, like, they want to be known on the social media. They want to be recognized as the guy who did whatever they did.
Is some of this not because the cops aren't really good shots anymore?
Well, no, the cops are maybe a little afraid of killing the guys. They got them all scared. They used to shoot them in the head. Multiple
What are they
shots.
trying to do? Shoot the gun out like fucking Gunsmoke?
I wish, buddy. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
I wish.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Ron.
Peace. Here's Steven in Illinois.
How you doing?
Hey.
I just want to say I'm a police officer in Chicago, in Illinois, 23 years. And from everything that I've seen, you're never going to take the guns away from the bad people, criminals. They're not going to go away. All you're going to do is de-arm the people that could potentially save someone else's life. Look what they did in Australia. They took all the guns, and all they did was put guns in criminals' hands and have victims not able to
I wish we had the kid from Australia here today. We don't. But from what I understand, they haven't had a mass shooting since then. But I'm going to agree with you. I don't think that there's any way to take the guns away or because people are afraid. A lot of this comes with people that are afraid. And I will say the same thing about angry people. At the beginning of this whole thing, they're fucking afraid, right? Yeah. I don't think that you have anger without having fear. But what if we put into some kind of, and it would take a long time, but dedicated ourselves to what a gun is, right? We do it now where, you can't go down the street with a cannon. We say that's more than you need. What if we literally try to come up with some kind of a stun gun thing? And we're far from it now. And saying this is what a gun is. This is the way you protect yourself. And old school guns aren't guns anymore. I mean, is that something we could put trillions of dollars into? Like we're doing with the space program.
Like the phaser from fucking Star Trek.
This phaser from Star Trek where you could put it on stun.
It just knocks someone out.
The fact that it had two things, stun and kill, was always amazing because, like, why don't you just stun them? And then you could hit them with a hammer if you still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you would have the ability, but sometimes Kirk would just on kill, nothing else. But the idea that this society is going to get better with everybody having these fucking weapons is ridiculous. Maybe we could put ourselves to figuring out what could be a weapon that people feel safe with. Because let's face it, you don't feel good with a stun gun.
No.
You know what I mean? You'd feel better with a bat than you would a fucking stun gun. But okay, I'm going to go with phaser because I can't think of another thing. What if we can come up with something? Maybe it's a fucking dart gun that as soon as it touches the person, they're out. Would that make you feel safe?
I feel safe with that.
Or is it not enough? And then you could still deer hunt. You just shoot it with this thing, go up to it, and then cut its throat with a fucking knife. Is that such an awful idea?
That's too many steps.
844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. Kevin in Sacramento. Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going back to the armed guard part. I think it needs to be more like in-house where they have volunteers. They go to the synagogues or the churches that are willing to look like everybody else, but just have concealed carries because they're not going to be the cops showing up that are going to be lit up automatically. They're going to have a different vantage point. So that's what I think.
I will only make this point when it comes to armed security. I've worked places where we've had armed security, hotels, bars, and stuff like that. There was no one there that had those jobs that I felt was less than a nut. You know what I mean? And most of those guys, I didn't think we were going to be able to do shit if something came down. I just can't picture that you're going to have that many skilled people. And let's face it, do you want your kid sitting in a synagogue in front of a guy that's fucking armed to the tooth? You don't know this fucking guy.
And then if there's armed guards in, I guess, synagogues and churches or wherever, then it's just going to move to other businesses. And
Well, it has to be everything.
Yeah, it'll be in
anything where people, I guess, gather.
There'll be armed guards in bodegas.
Yeah, we at our church we have guys. They blend in. We have security that they're in law enforcement. They're licensed to carry. We don't know who they are, but we know they are there.
How do you know then, Earl? How do you feel safe?
Is this a rumor
if you don't know who has the gun, how do you know you're not being lied to?
Well, it's not being broadcast. Hey, this person.
Do you know who they are?
I know two. And they blend in. They're dressed.
Is that now? Do you need that because your pastor is doing so much anti-white, anti-police talk?
No, it was something that just came up in the last 2-3 years.
The shooting down south. That
was the big reaction.
Where was that?
I was in South Carolina.
Yeah, but was it Charlotte? Was it
Charlottesville? No, that was. But I don't remember the town. It was South Carolina. It was one of the oldest. It's one of the oldest.
So when people say, "Oh, everybody remembers," we don't remember the shooter from there. We don't remember the town. It's bullshit that somehow people become famous.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy talk because there's been so many.
It's that thing that you think that if you say that, it'll be helpful. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think I'm being helpful. These people just want to be famous. But I don't believe that's true. I think they do it because they're fucking bananas. And crazy people can get weapons. They can. Nicole in New Mexico.
Hi, yes.
Yes.
My thought is we need to obviously everyone's on the same page with some type of zero tolerance policy. For starters, I think that the media should get one chance, one time to tell the story. They shouldn't be covering one story for 72 hours straight and dramatizing it and glorifying it. I think that we are, as the people are due, receiving the information of what occurred, the same way that guy said about the newspaper, where if we want to know what's happening in the world, we need to find it. But all of this stuff doesn't need to be shoved in our faces.
Well,
I mean,
all right.
In my opinion.
And no, I totally get that. But what do you say to the families that say, I want to tell this story? You know what I mean?
Well, what I think that since we are glamorizing these people, that it is promulgating more people wanting to create hate crimes. And on the other side of that, I think that I think there should be a separate set of laws that say if you are committing mass hate crimes, then you are not getting the same due process as the guy who robbed the corner store down the street. I think that they should not have any type of minimum penalties. I think it should be life or death, life in prison or the death sentence. I do not think that they should get to see their family. I do not think that they should get to have communal work. I think they should be in solitary confinement. I think that what they do should have a severe enough consequence to where you don't get your star, you don't get your 15 minutes of fame, and the rest of your life sucks if you have the rest of your life. Think about it.
No, I get it, and I have a feeling that these guys don't have a great family connection as it is. I think they go there with the purpose of dying. I mean, how could you think anything other than death or life in prison was going to happen to you? This, to me, is almost a suicidal act, but you want to take people with you. You can only be crazy.
And that's where I think that, well, if they've got nothing left to live for, then at least they're going to go down as this legend who took out this whatever, because there's so many, school, church, etc.
Yeah,
but that's where I think that we shouldn't give them their 15 minutes of fame. We shouldn't give in to exactly what they're going for.
I've heard this many, many times, and I don't find any of it seeming glamorous. I don't find any of it becoming overly famous. It's a short viral burst, and people in this country are always going to be curious about why something happened. I mean, you want to look at a weird thing, it's how many people enjoy murder shows in this country. There's a fucking murder show on all the time, a real life murder, a real life trial. Everybody you know, when Big J, I just did his show, and he goes, "You watch season 2 of I think it's Making of a Murderer, Anatomy of a Murderer," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't even fucking. Why would I watch that? These shows that it seems to be always the bad husband on Dateline or something. Now, don't get me wrong, I find them seductive once I fucking crash into one of them. I'm like, wait a minute, what? This guy had a fucking girlfriend too? You know what I mean? Like, it really is playing to our darkest angels. Austin in Michigan.
Ronnie,
yeah.
pleasure to talk to you, sir. Big
Thank
fan.
you, buddy.
So I know I'm like in the minority, but I believe that, we should have more people trained and concealed. It's been proven that when these people do these mass shootings, at the first sign of resistance, they flee. That guy was coming out, encountered cops, retreated back into the synagogue. There's a great video of a person that went into a church in Colorado, confronted by an armed security guard. I believe she was a law enforcement officer. Confronted, and he flees.
All right, so
I don't know.
No. I mean, I'm picking up what you're talking about, but we're going to have to get to the point, Austin. Anytime you go to a 7-Eleven, anytime you go to fucking KB Toys, there's somebody there ready to shoot, right?
Well, and I believe that we should have more people carrying weapons.
Okay.
An armed society is a polite society.
All right, so everywhere you go, you're driving your car, some guys are yelling back and forth. You want one of those guys to have a gun. Or both of those guys to have a gun.
If there were more guns, do you think those guys are going to yell like that, carte blanche? Or do you think they might exercise a little more caution?
I mean, it would be interesting to see, but I will also say this, like, even in the Old West, where everybody had a gun, right? Remember they had the idea of no guns in town, no guns in the fucking bar, like there's no one pure answer that I think works here. But I think the fact of where we are, of just being frustrated that there doesn't seem to be an answer anywhere, is the place to start.
It is a very difficult thing. And I mean, one of the first mass shootings that I am aware of, I mean, unless we're talking, the Old West, like you said, are you familiar with the case of the gentleman that did the school massacre in Bath, Michigan?
No, I'm not.
Sir, maybe you should take a look at it. I mean, this guy, he made the first car bomb. He packed a car out in the parking lot with explosives. He packed the floorboards, and I do believe this was like 1918. He packed the floorboards of a schoolhouse with explosives, chained the kids inside, and massacred everyone. The cops showed up. He shot the car with explosives, killed people. Crazy is crazy, Ronnie.
I've never even heard that story, and I think that you made me even sadder than I've been all weekend. I appreciate it, Austin. Thanks for calling.
Get yelled at, it was by you, sir. Yes, sir.
Peace.
Pleasure, Ronnie.
844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. Hey, Chris in Wisconsin.
Hey, Ron. So I get that there were a few cops shot. People had guns there at this event. And one of the things I wanted to point out, I went to the Jim Jeffries show recently in Madison, and one of the things he did was to start to talk to the kind of security guard there. And he said, like, hey, if something goes down, if somebody runs at me with a knife, somebody comes up with a gun, what are you going to do? Are you going to save my life? And the security guard, who's now a part of the show, says, I'd like to think so. I think we put these people in a situation where we assume that they're all going to be heroes, and they're.
I mean, we even saw that case at that school where that cop stayed outside.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you're going to get much better training than what he had. And he was like, I can't go in there. You know what I mean? I can't deal with this shit.
Here.
All right, thanks for calling. Let's go here to Warren. Warren, what's up?
Hey, Ron, how's it going?
Good.
So I am an Orthodox Jew from Long Island, New York, and I can tell you for a fact that there absolutely are some shuls that have armed guards, armed citizens who are Orthodox Jewish, who are just going to shul on Shabbos, and they are armed. 100%. You don't know who they are. There's an organization that has approached some of the board members of the shuls, of the synagogues, and they're members of the shuls. Most people in the shul don't even know they exist, but they are there. 100%. Just for reasons like this.
And you think if this place would have had that, they would have been better off for him?
I can't tell you what's going to happen, but knowing that they're there certainly has a certain type of security. 100%.
All right. Thank you very much, Warren. 844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. Joe in New York. What's up?
Hey, Ronnie. I'm just calling because everybody who thinks that, like, if you take away guns, that nobody but criminals are going to have guns. But criminals don't seem to be the people, like, these people who are committing these mass shootings don't seem to have a huge criminal record before. It seems like criminals just kind of shoot criminals.
It's a very interesting thing that you came up with because, like, it was always said in New York, the reason why people didn't mind the mafia so much is because they were shooting each other because the criminals are after money. You know what I mean? Like, you had never heard, oh, this mob guy went running into a church and shot everybody. They didn't do stuff like that. They were after money. This guy and these last two guys were, in my opinion, insane, and we don't take insane people off the street. Like, even if you're a Trump backer, right? That guy's fucking van was lunatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it seemed like, okay, we know that sooner or later something's going to happen. But also, do we want to live in a society where Chris Stanley can't say to Vito, I'll fucking kill you? Are we going to really treat that like it's a reality thing, or people that fucking are mean on the internet? Because that's what they're saying right now. These guys have shown that they were heading towards something bad. I mean, there was anti-Semitic things on one and anti-liberal stuff on the other one.
Well, that's where you get into, I guess, the freedom of speech thing, but you're not a criminal at that point.
Right.
Like, and they talk about criminals are the only ones who will have guns after this because they're willing to do illegal things. But then you're not giving it to somebody who's insane and can just walk into a Dick's Sporting Goods and buy an assault rifle.
Yeah, and would either one of these guys have failed any kind of insanity test? Because they had made it this far in life. They were, what, 40s and 50s?
Yeah.
I mean, they made it this far in life without somebody chucking them in the fucking Bellevue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're fucked. You're right. You just depressed me most of all, Joe. We're really fucking fucked. Mark in Iowa.
Hey, first let me say Maha, Ron.
Uh-huh.
I think that the political wing of the NRA is not all to blame, but there's a significant problem. Most of the members of the NRA are among the most responsible and, probably they're about the most responsible gun owners that I know. But when you have the political lobbying arm of the NRA fighting against a national registry or, some toughening of background checks, I think it's not conducive to moving us in the right direction.
So you think that could at least be the beginning compromise, that we make it harder for insane people to get automatic weapons?
Not just insane people. I think everybody. It should be maybe just a little bit more difficult than to just go in and buy a gun like that. That scene in Ozark where the mentally handicapped kid just walked in, and I know it's a TV show, but
No.
You know, that it was a great example of how easy it is to buy a gun in this country. And, you know, maybe before you buy a gun, you should have to do some gun safety courses, and you should have to, you know, be put on get a national registry that is on a computer instead of on paper that the ATF has to go through manually. I think that those are kind of common sense things that we should do before we start, you know, pulling guns from everybody, or, you know, telling people they can't own a gun, or, you know, insisting on mental health checks before you can have one.
All right, I appreciate it, Mark. 844 Rock God. 844 Rock God. Chris in New Hampshire.
Hey, Ron, how you doing?
Good.
Good. So this probably isn't going to be a popular opinion, but I think it's more about perspective. You know, we're talking about 11 people. There were more suicides over the weekend in America than killed by gun violence. There were more car accidents. There were more babies killed in child safety seats than 11 people at a church. That's where the perspective is that we hear about a shooting and the world ends. Everybody panics. Take our guns. We hear about a tragic car accident and we're like, should have drove better. Probably should have worn a seatbelt. Here in New Hampshire, you don't have to wear a seatbelt. People die from car accidents every single day in New Hampshire. More deaths in New Hampshire this year than any gun-related violence last year. But we sensationalize the guns because that's something we can put something political behind. We don't sensationalize the 48,000 people that committed suicide last year, or the 650,000 people who died from heart attacks that could have probably been prevented with a little bit of medical care and some exercise.
But here's the thing: we're not accepting of those things, or even of heart attacks. I mean, we go out of our ways to prevent those things all the time. Obviously, life is more extended than it was years ago. But I just want to get this across, Chris. What you want us to do is see a story like this, where a hate crime, somebody who hated Jews and they're screaming, all the Jews should die, and you want us to just be accepting of it. I just want to...
Well, I'm not saying that. So I actually am not a fan of hate crime laws. I feel like anytime you commit murder, it was a hate crime law. Every crime that involves murder that wasn't accidental, I think they all should be treated the same. I'm saying the perspective on the story is the fact that 46,000 suicides were committed last year in America, and we don't have 72-hour round-the-clock coverage on every single thing.
It depends. Some of them we do. When there's an overdose of somebody who's known to everybody, that gets a big story, and it also brings up the opiate thing. Sure. If there's a suicide of somebody that everybody knows, we spend days talking about it. But I want you to put me where our perspective would be with this story. If we were to adopt your thing, what would happen? How would we all feel when we heard about this synagogue being shut up?
Well, I think you also said a very important piece there. You said, yes, when...
Oh, tell me you're not going to do it. Okay. All right. Here's what I want you to do. Tell me, with your new, fresh perspective, how would we react when we see a school being shot up or a synagogue being shot up?
Yeah, it's a tragedy, and we move on.
Okay.
We don't start shutting everything down. We don't start requiring national registries.
No. I'm not saying any of that, because by the way, Chris, none of that ever happens. You know what I mean? It's just something that gets talked about. You know what I mean? So nothing has or will threaten your guns because too many people agree with you. But the lack of empathy is, I'm not sure that's a place that we want to live in either, you know? I certainly don't see it that way. It's always been a very interesting thing to me that you would think if anybody was anti-gun, it would be cops, because the reason why it's so scary for them to pull somebody over is that person could have a gun, or when they kiss their wife or husband goodbye, they're thinking about guns. And yet, most cops I know are 100%. Everybody should have fucking guns. Life would be better. Hey, Rich in Philly.
Hi, Ronnie. How you doing? Listen, I think the answer is plain and simple. You need to ban all assault weapons, Ronnie. There is no need for dialogue. Sometimes people need to be led in the right direction. If you do something that affects yourself, fine, no problem. You want to ride a motorcycle without a helmet? We got states that Pennsylvania, where I'm from, is a state that allows you to ride a motorcycle without a helmet. But you need a complete ban on all assault rifles. That argument that it's a sport is done and over with, Ronnie. These things are made to kill, and that's exactly what's going to keep happening until you ban them and don't allow anybody to buy them. Period.
All right, thank you, my friend. Peace. Here's Paul in New Jersey.
Hey, buddies. Yeah, I think the only way this changes, and if it changes at all, is these these rich NRA people who, it's in their interest to keep making guns and keep making money. When it affects their family, when their son or their daughter gets shot, I think before anything that happens, I don't think they're going to care. I hope something like that doesn't happen, but I just don't think. I think this is just a dollars game, and these guns make too much money, and that's all they care about.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to guess that the people who work and belong to the NRA completely believe that it makes life safer. I certainly think that both sides are pretty dug in, and I don't just. I mean, I'm sure anybody who sells anything, money is the reason why they do it. But I don't think that most people who feel the way they feel about guns make money off of it. And I know that there's a lot of people who feel safer with a gun. Andy in New Jersey.
Hey, how are you? The big problem is you guys have mental health checks is if it's not court ordered, it's not on the record, right? Mm-hmm. So New Jersey just passed a law where if you go to a private strength or doctor or whatever, and they feel that they have a legal obligation, if something happens, they'll report it, and then it will pop up on your mental health check. In New Jersey, you get a background check at the state police level, then you have to go to your local police, fill out another background check, and you fill out 2 more when you actually purchase a gun. Right. So you can't say that necessarily less is more or more is less. Stuff does slip through the cracks, even in New Jersey when they shut down Hagedorn, the mental health place. Where'd they go? No one knows where those loony bins went. And those were true loon bags. They're just everywhere now. And as far as that, I still work for a gun company. We do a lot of gun shows in Pennsylvania. People would shit their pants if they saw what people are buying. In New Jersey, you can't have a lot of it, but pretty much the other, 45 states that have the Class 3 stuff and fully automatic, do whatever you want. Your average person will never, ever be able to afford the tax stamps and a true Class 3 firearm. So that's all just a fart in the wind as well. There's a lot more that goes behind it versus just, this, that, and the other thing. And a lot of people don't realize the type of firepower that's out there. An AR-15, I would love to be involved. If, I was a victim, it was an AR-15 and not an AK-47 or something like that, because the damage would be tenfold than the little glorified pea shooter, which an AR-15 is. It's all horrible, but the general public has really they can't even fathom the idea of what is really out there on the market and what people are buying. It's crazy.
I appreciate you calling us, Andy, and I have to say I'm one of those people. I have no idea what's out there. I've never been to a gun show other than when Chris Stanley starts flashing his arms around.
Shut off.
I do know I would like to see the country move in one direction that would make things safer, and I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening at all. Does this have to be done now, or okay? Let's go to Bob in Reno. Bob, what's up?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, whatever. Hey, I've got a lot of cop friends. all the way from like little county deputies all the way to DEA, ATF, stuff like that. The overwhelming thing I've always heard about taking guns away is it's all fine and dandy for when they're at work. Their biggest fear is if you take the guns away and they can't have them when they're off work, because you always hear about these, off-duty officer helps in bank robbery or liquor store or whatever like that. They're scared to death to not have their gun if they need it, and they're not talking about it at work. So that's all. Have a good day, guys.
Appreciate it. Peace.
Yep.
Here's Bill, the cop in New York. Bill.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Good, my friend.
I think our whole issue here is the laws. When you get caught with an illegal gun, the penalties should be severe, because no matter how much you try to ban guns, I know that's everybody's Band-Aid solution as soon as something like this happens, criminals and people with mental health issues are always going to get their hands on guns, no matter what.
So illegal guns is a bigger problem than anything else. And if you look at a place like the south side of Chicago, these kids are buying a gun from somebody, I guess somebody who comes driving into town with a van full of guns to sell.
And remember, I don't mean to interrupt, but remember, the big issue here also is, believe it or not, the Ferguson effect. A lot of cops nowadays are afraid to be proactive. I've been doing this for about 30 years now, and a lot of guys are afraid to put their hands on people, and if something comes over, a call with a guy with a gun, most guys, unless it's something very specific, they're not going to go the extra yard. They're just going to do the bare minimum they need to do, and that's about it, because they don't want to get a lawsuit. They don't want to stop somebody that maybe is an innocent person, and then that leads to all kinds of ramifications.
All right, so if you're saying the average police officer gets a call, there's somebody at a 7-Eleven with a gun, right? How's he handle that?
That in and of itself is not enough.
Yeah.
Just to say that the person would, even if let's go a little bit further and say there's a male white with a gray sweatshirt and blue jeans. That's really not enough for a police officer. You can stop and question somebody. To put your hands on somebody and not violate their civil rights, which none of us wants to do, you have to have a lot more than that.
So what happens if, and I don't know whether this ever happened, but if you were close and you heard that call, somebody shooting in a synagogue, because you've got to show up and find the right person and, be able to, 4 cops were shot by this guy. How do you even run into a situation like that, Bill?
As much as people want to say that the cops are racist and the cops do this, cops do that, in my 30 years, every guy that I've ever met would run into that situation. Every guy I ever personally worked with would run into that situation. We're there to help people. It's instinct. I'm driving on the road right now. If I saw something happen right in front of me, it's my instinct. Since I've been younger, since before I became a cop, it was to help people. So if I see something going down in front of me that I know somebody's going to get hurt, it's just my instinct to get involved. Just same thing if I was in church. They mentioned the whole thing about having guards in churches, synagogues. I disagree with that, because what they should do is train individuals that are actively involved in church not to wear a uniform and stand there with a gun on their hip, because of course they're going to be targeted first. What we need to do is get a group of people in the same church, same school, same synagogue, and train them so they know each other. It's not a job. It's just just in the event that if something goes wrong, which oftentimes it does, whether you're in a mall, movie theater, we've learned that throughout the years. But train these people, train these retired cops, train these active cops, train them so that they know exactly how to react, and we have trained professionals out there. Just having a guard with a gun on his hip, that's not going to solve anything, because that creates a whole other issue of just giving somebody a gun and say, okay, you're a guard. That's not the way we have a solution to things. We need training. We need guys. Retired guys are great. There's retired guys that would love to, get paid a decent amount of money to, be maybe a plainclothes guy in a church or in a school. So that is part of it. A lot of it is training. We can't just throw guys in a school and say, okay, you're a guard. Throw guys in a synagogue, you're a guard. If somebody shoots, you shoot. No, that's not it. There's so many factors involved here. It's getting people out of a situation like that. That's That's almost a paramount situation, is teaching people, listen, if something goes down, you are the first responder. If it's a church, you guys are the first responders. If something goes down, odds are the police isn't going to get there for a few minutes. You have to know what to do and not panic. The whole thing is don't panic.
I appreciate you calling, Bill, and it was interesting to hear. And also, I think this, when it comes to the media, why can't this kind of shit be discussed, even debated, at times when we're not shocked from one of these shootings? Why can't there be, out of all the fucking time that we have set aside for news, why can't these things be talked about? Even if it's just an hour or two a week. Never happens. Waits until something happens. It blows up. Everybody's emotional. But very few people are able to sit there and talk like Bill the Cop and come up with some things that maybe you've never heard before. All right. We got a break now. I think we've solved the country's problems. Chris Stanley hit it earlier. It's phasers.
Yeah.
Star Trek phasers. On stun, Chris.
Yeah, no kill setting.
I want to even take a piece of tape and put it over the kill setting. So you won't feel like you have to. All right, coming in next, who do we got, Chris?
Ronnie Marmo. He's starring as Lenny Bruce in I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce at the Cutting Room in New York City. It's currently in previews. Officially opens November 4th. LennyBruceOnStage.com.
It was a big hit in Los Angeles. So we'll bring him in to talk to him. It's being directed by Joe Mantegna, the great actor. So I'm really looking forward to this. I met him up at the National Comedy Center, and it was crazy how much he looked like Lenny Bruce. He was hanging with flats.
That's cool.
Some way, I guess it is. We'll be right back, Bennington.
Oh, no. Welcome back to Bennington. Ronnie Marmo's in studio. Ronnie's starring as Lenny Bruce in I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce at the Cutting Room in New York City. It's currently in previews. It officially opens Sunday, November 4th. LennyBruceOnStage.com for tickets.
Ronnie, great to see you.
Thank you.
And you wrote this as well? Or?
I did, yep. Yeah. I wrote it. Mm-hmm.
Well, what would and I know you did it in Los Angeles for a long time, right?
15 months, yeah.
15 months, which is a great, unbelievable run.
110 performances.
Wow. Now, what would make a young person care about Lenny Bruce? How did you find out about Lenny?
Well, I knew what everyone else knew. You know, I kind of knew about him. And then about 10 years ago, Charlie Brill, great comic and actor, Charlie came to me and said, someone wrote this one-man show for me playing Lenny. I've been looking at you. I think you should do it. I'll direct it. It's too many lines. I don't want to learn it.
Yeah.
So he gave it to me, and I spent a few years looking at it. I was really nervous because I knew all his friends would come. And I was like, but once I researched him, and I fell in love. I mean, it just... You know, thank God he gave me that script. And then I ended up doing that show for about 6 months and then set off to write my own.
So what was the difference between the two things, yours and the one that was written by somebody else? What made you go in a different direction?
Well, we weren't doing his bits at all. You know, he didn't have the rights to the bits, the playwright. So that was a big thing. I felt like I was leaving a lot on the table by not doing his material. We would talk about his material. We would work around the material, but I didn't do the material. So that was a big thing. The other thing was it was a nice play, but I always felt like I was leaving stuff on the table. You know, his drug use, his battle with the courts. So I just felt like I wanted to tell the whole story and not make it so pretty. And I thought that was a nice introduction for me. But as I learned more about Lenny, I started to feel like, well, maybe I'm doing a little disservice because I'm leaving stuff out.
You know, when I was a kid, I saw the movie Lenny with Dustin Hoffman, and I loved it. But then people in Lenny's world said this is not Lenny. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that surprised me because I was like, to me, this was it. So what did they miss in that movie? What weren't we getting?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this scares me. One of our greatest actors of all time, Dustin Hoffman, is not Lenny Bruce. I mean, it's just the problem is that Lenny had this other thing to him. And listen, he's great. And I love the film. I love the film growing up. I knew every word, actually.
Yeah.
I love the film. And I still love the film for what it is. But there was so many elements that my understanding of the process, and this is 40 years ago, I was a kid and baby. You know?
Right.
My understanding was that they spent more time. Fosse was worried about the camera and the angles and making it look this and that no one really spoke to Hoffman. Could he have, maybe even gotten closer? Probably, but my understanding is that no one gave him the attention he probably should have gotten.
Yeah.
To really, go for it.
Well, this is such an amazing thing about Lenny, of course, is because it doesn't, like with most of the time you could look at a comedian and say this, begat this next generation. But Lenny seemed like he came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like he was his own invention. Am I right about that? Or did he see people and go, all right, this guy has something. Maybe I can start from that spot.
You mean back when he first
back
found
when
his
he was a
voice?
kid,
No, I think his mother influenced him the most, quite honestly. I think Sally Marr was, his idol. And I think there was a time when he was doing jokes. He was just doing jokes. And then my understanding is one day he was working in this dive bar and there was a band there, a jazz band. And all of a sudden he turned his back to the audience and started making the band laugh, just telling them stories about his wife, about this and about that. And he was onto something.
Because he was treating them like they were his friends. This way people are funny with their friends.
Exactly.
And I always think that's true of comedy, is that you could start, but you have to go back to what it was that made you and your friends enjoy each other, you and your family.
Well, there shouldn't be really a separation between the on stage, off stage. And Lenny says, I talked about the same things, whether you were in my living room or sitting on stage.
Yeah.
And that's what made him different. And people couldn't believe it. He'd come out and say the craziest things that people, you're going to talk about your wife? How can you?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, now everybody does it.
I mean, that does seem to be at least a starting point for modern comedy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's, Pryor was the one who said Lenny, and on and on and on, like that. Carlin, Lenny.
Have you seen? Did you get to come to the one performance I did here?
I did not. I'm coming to see you do this. Though.
Please, you have to.
Well, I met you up at the National Comedy Center this year. And first of all, I was amazed how much you look like him. Just but for
I think that's happening over time with the performance. I'm not sure 2 years ago.
Turn into him.
It's kind of like how you end up looking like your dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But one of my favorite things there was going down and seeing the Lenny stuff.
It was amazing.
And just seeing the trench coat, I'm like, that's it. That's the coat. And I mean, how many times have I seen the picture of him going off to jail?
And for those who don't know, he wore that coat every night on stage because they never gave him a chance to get his coat, and the jail cells were freezing. That's what he said. He was always cold in jail, so he just wore his coat.
So he would wear his coat on stage. It was also the thing. If guys have been picked up enough, know that you need your cigarettes. You know what I mean? There's a couple of things that you do. But how many times was he arrested on? Like First Amendment?
Multiple times. I mean, the biggest ones were, he ended up getting pardoned in 2003 in New York. Mm-hmm. They apologized, 30, 40 years later, whatever that was. But he got arrested the first time in Chicago for doing Religions Incorporated. And it wasn't even a curse word. Some Catholic cop was offended.
Right.
And they locked him up just because he was like, he made the Pope Jewish. It was a very funny bit. And so he was arrested too many times,
It's very, very interesting because even now, being offended it's such a tender thing for people. People talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's worse than ever. I mean, look, in the act, I do the N-word bit.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, man, every night I'm kind of scared to do it. But I understand that if I put myself back in, the mid-'60s, which was, scary then, it's really scary now to do it. But it's the most anti-racist bit.
Right.
If you open your heart and your mind and you listen and you get to the end, you go, oh, I see what Lenny was saying. Let's take the power out of the words, But it's scary. It's a very sensitive time.
Yeah, it's an incredibly sensitive time. That's why this show is still edgy. You know what I mean? After, 50 years or whatever, this is still an edgy topic for people. It's still something that we haven't embrace completely.
Well, I have to tell you, you hire a publicist, you hire an ad agency, you do all that stuff, right? You try to get everybody to support the show and sell tickets. And the New York Times called me 2 weeks ago through the Lenny Bruce Memorial Foundation. We didn't even, because they want to talk about this topic. They want to talk about Lenny. They said, the first line in the article was that, I didn't set out to write a political play, but many are calling my performance commentary on the Trump era.
Right.
And that's what the Times kind of got from it. And so it's just a crazy time. And I think Lenny is, I'm so thrilled to say he's back in the forefront,
Joan Rivers was a friend to us here and would come by and do the show.
She loved Lenny.
She talked about Lenny in a way that she's saying this was the funniest, not only the funniest, but the sexiest, the most charismatic. I mean, she just had him on a pedestal, and that he apparently was very kind to her as well. He was very kind to George Carlin and anybody that was following him. He was,
Jack Burns, you know Burns.
Sure.
Jack's a dear friend. I have lunch every Wednesday with Jack, with Charlie, with Bobcat.
Yeah.
I hang out with those guys in L.A.
Yeah.
And, Jack told me that Lenny got him his first agent. Lenny walked him up to the agency and got him an agent. And so Lenny was like that with a lot of people. You know?
Well, you bring up Bobcat. That's a guy who they still can't figure out to this day.
I love that guy. He's so sweet.
And what a great film director. He's
he's
amazing,
turned out,
amazing director. Now, directing you, tell everybody who.
Joe Mantegna.
Joe Mantegna. Now, did you have to come and interest him, or was he interested in the story, or what?
Joe's been like, a friend and a mentor for about 15 years. Over the last few years, when I was writing the script, I would read it. I'd say, Joe, can I read this to you? I'd read it to him. He'd give me some thoughts. I'd go back and write for a year, literally. And then, but I always knew he had the right temperament and who he was. And I just thought he'd be a gentle hand, and he knew exactly how to deal with me, and he knew what the material meant to me. And so I went to him about 2 years ago. I said, Joe, I think I'm ready now. He said, read it to me. I read it to him. And he said, if you could wait for my Criminal Minds hiatus, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
And so there were other directors around and some pretty good names, but Joe was always my choice. And I went to him in the 11th hour and I said, now's the time. And he was in. So,
all right, we got him on right now.
Oh, beautiful.
He's on the phone here. Joe, how are you?
Excellent. Thank you very much.
What made you want to direct this? What was it about the play itself?
Well, to cut to the chase, I've always a believer of if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. And in this instance, I mean, I read the script, and even though I was close to Ronnie, I had worked with him before and a couple things, it was all about the material. And so when I saw the material, I thought to myself, I really love this material, and I knew what kind of talent he was. And so that's all I need to go. I mean, at least to give it that shot. And all I could say is he didn't let me down, and the material didn't let me down. I just feel, I feel we've given it the best possible kind of translation of what he put on the page and the transformation that Ronnie does every night. So that's in a nutshell. That's why I did it.
Do you have to kind of get yourself together before you can walk out there? Do you kind of have to become Lenny every night in a way?
I have a couple of little silly actor rituals, which I'll spare you. But let's just say that it's an 85-minute monologue, and before I go out there, I say, how am I going to do this again? And then as soon as I see that one person look up, and then I go, well, here I go again. So it's really demanding. I can't wait for you to see it.
Joe, this opened in L.A., had a very successful run, but do you see a difference between an L.A. audience and a New York audience, or the play's the thing?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the play's the thing, but there is a certain thing. I think there's a certain expectation and anticipation when you get to New York, and the fact that it's Lenny and it's about his life and about just the genesis of what Lenny Bruce is and was. I think New York. We always felt that New York was that's the top of the ladder. I mean, it's always been that way in theater anyway, but specifically and especially about this play, and also just the venue itself, the fact that we're doing it in a venue that somewhat mirrors kind of a nightclubs that Lenny would have worked, it made it seem like I was thrilled that we got the reception we got in L.A. And of course, L.A. is such a transient kind of city anyway. In other words, our audiences are from all over the country and the world anyway. But we always felt that New York that's going to be the top of the ladder. And I just feel the material and just the fact that what Ronnie's from there and everything about it made it seem like this is an ideal fit. So so we'll see. And I just feel it's all happening as it should.
It's always funny to me because those buildings in the Village are still there. You know what I mean? Where Lenny played and all those folks. And there's still young kids coming to New York every day to live that life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The book has been read by, so many young people. So that spirit, I think, is, Lenny's spirit is still in the Village to me.
Yeah, we're trying really hard to get the next generation in to learn more about Lenny. Yeah. I'd say every night most of our audience are 65 plus, and they can't wait to tell me their experience with Lenny.
Right.
Last night or 2 nights ago, I had the prosecuting attorney come in against Lenny, and he watched the play. At the end, he was crying. He says, you tore the scabs off a lot of wounds. He goes, I'm the prosecutor who dropped the case because I couldn't live with myself, because I thought he was great. And so every night I get these stories, and now we love that. And now I want to make sure I get these, the millennials in to learn about this important guy,
Right.
And we're trying.
Joe, how do you, when you put together a play, is it aimed at an audience, or?
No, I think it's like art. I think if you have to do what you like. If you like it, you just have to hope that your taste kind of translates to everybody else. I never felt that we were trying to aim it toward anybody. And what's been heartening is we've got people who come in who are in their 90s, 80s and 90s who will say, oh, I knew Lenny, and Lenny was a friend, or God, I remember this, or I remember that, or whatever it may be. And then you'll have teenagers come in, or kids like taking drama in college, freshmen in college. Literally they've seen the play in L.A. They'd come back 4, 5, 6 times, and they would tell me in the lobby, they'd say, this is my 6th time I've seen it. I mean, I just think it's so incredible, and I've Googled Lenny Bruce. And so in other words, it runs the gamut of people who had no idea who Lenny Bruce was and yet were fascinated by the story and they wanted to learn more about it, to people who kind of had a strong knowledge of Lenny Bruce and was looking at it as like, yes, how great to be able to go back and relive that time and hear this story. So to me, the audience is should be anyone and everyone, and the ones who like it are going to like it, and the ones that don't get it aren't going to get it.
I do think that Lenny Bruce is as important as any American artist that we've ever had, and it is always interesting that you have to keep selling that. I know that you do this with Bruce's family. I met you with
Kitty Bruce.
With Kitty,
Kitty's become one of my dearest friends. She's family for life. And, she runs the foundation, Lenny Bruce Memorial Foundation, and it's an incredible organization. And a piece of the show I made sure a piece goes to the foundation. What the foundation does, it raises money for people who don't have money to go to rehab. So we're putting people through rehab with the show as well. We already saved one kid who was a heroin addict, like 25, and he's clean like 6 months now.
Right.
Because of the show. So it's dear to me. And having Kitty's stamp of approval is the whole thing. I mean, how do you play somebody's dad?
Right.
Never mind Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
And she said, it's public and online. She said it's the best betrayal of her dad she's ever seen, and that was her take. So to me, that's the review, right? It's
sure.
How do you play that?
But it is also interesting that he was a junkie when people didn't even understand what drug addiction was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, and that's why
story.
The mission of the foundation is so great, because it's in Lenny's name that we do this, and trying to save lives, and quite honestly, I show all that in the show, man. We go on such a journey and such a ride. We show it all, the good and the bad,
Well, plug away, would you, Chris?
I'm Not a Comedian. I'm Lenny Bruce is currently in previews. It's officially open Sunday, November 4th at the Cutting Room in New York City. LennyBruceOnStage.com for tickets.
Now, after this ride, guys, that you do here in New York, is there thought of another city, or is there thought of a film?
Well, Joe, you want to talk
about whatever.
that?
I mean, we'll see. Whatever has. I'm a firm believer of that. Things kind of. You play the cards you're dealt, and we'll see how these cards fall. I mean, I've kind of lived my whole life and my whole career that way, in the sense of you just do the work, you worry about tomorrow. But if it all goes well and goes as we would hope, I would certainly think that there's a life for this play in whatever form it may be, whether it's touring it, other productions of it, a film, whatever it may be. We'll see. But I don't. My thing is, let's just take it a day at a time.
But Joe, for all your success in film and TV, you still love theater.
Well, that's where I started. I mean, I did theater for 15 years before I ever shot up any footage or a piece of film or anything for film or television. So that's where I've always said to myself, I'd love to kind of emulate Henry Fonda's career, a guy who started in theater, made a career out of himself in film and television, and then ultimately went back to the theater. So you do, again, like I say, I play the cards I'm dealt. This is the cards that were dealt to me in my life, in my career. But yeah, my heart has always been, on the stage, and that's where I made my bones, and that's probably where they'll put my bones.
Henry Fonda was such an interesting thing too, because at the peak of his career, I think he went and did Mr. Roberts on Broadway for like years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly
When you would think, oh, you've got to back when they were making 5 or 6 movies a year, he walked away from it to do theater.
Right. Like I said, those guys like that, those are the guys those are my heroes in show business.
And Joe and those guys are my heroes. So thank you, Joe.
Well, thank you, Ronnie.
Ronnie, for you also have to worry about aging out on this role as well, right?
Not yet, but if I'm playing this in about 20 years, you should have a talk with me, Ron. I want you to pull me aside and go, Ronnie, let it go. Let it go.
No, he's right in the pocket right now.
Yeah.
He's perfect right now.
Well, I said when I met him, right away I was shocked just by the way he looks,
Yeah. You know what? They're knocking on the door only because I'm on the set of Criminal Minds right now, and they were kind enough to give me like 10 minutes to jump off and talk to you guys.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to let you continue, but
go do
thanks
your work.
So much, Ronnie. Knock 'em dead, kid. And thanks so much for having us on the show.
Thanks,
take
pal.
care, my
Love
friend.
you, Joe.
All right.
Thanks, pal.
Bye.
How
He's the best, Ron. I can't.
how crazy is that to have that in your life?
He's everything I hope to be for the actors who are in my theater. It's like this guy he's just.
Well, he had that whole Chicago, background with like Mamet and all those kind of people.
But what you just experienced was the whole process.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is he's the best. I mean, what can I say? It's so nice when you're working with people that you don't want to let down. So I think I'm better because, I mean, his direction for sure, but even just because every time I got in front of him, I said, I got to be great today.
Right.
It did, when you're working with friends, you go, I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
But it was like Joe Mantegna staring at me. He wants me, and so, and I just want to be great. And he told me he's like looking in a mirror. He goes, you're like 20 years ago looking in a mirror.
That's really great.
So we have that kind of friendship, and he's just, this can go on for hours. I love this guy.
Well, let's do something again after you get this up and going. Maybe we'll figure out a way to do something in front of some young people, but I
would love that, Ron. I really would.
I think it would be really, really cool. There's a lot of young comedians in town.
Do you want to? I don't know if it's helpful. Do you guys want to give away a pair of tickets for opening night?
Yeah. Let's definitely do that. I'll tell you what. We'll take all the information, and then I got to run it past our people, and then I'll do it this week.
Please do. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Ron,
Great
you're
to
awesome.
see you, buddy.
Thanks,
One
pal.
more plug, Chris. Nice and big. Like
Come on,
everybody like it.
With energy, Chris.
Yeah. I'm not a comedian. I'm Lenny Bruce. That's happened and officially opens Sunday, November 4th. It's currently in previews at the Cutting Room in New York City. LennyBruceOnstage.com for tickets.
All right, we'll be right back, Bennington. Cha-cha-cha! Hey, it's the Bennington Show. Chris wants to plug a gig for me. I mean, I'm not, doing the Lenny Bruce thing, but I have my own thing.
Ron's performing this Saturday, November 3rd at Laugh It Up Comedy Club in Poughkeepsie, New York. Go to laughitup.net for tickets, laughitup.net.
Joe Mantegna called while we were talking with Ronnie about Lenny Bruce. And off the air, Joe Mantegna says to me, Ron, I think you are the next Lenny Bruce. And I said to him, Joe, I don't want to be the next Lenny Bruce. I want to be the next Lenny Marcus. So maybe I can do the Lenny Marcus story.
That'd be great.
So fucking funny. So crazy funny is that, man.
He had a great Hell gig.
He did. Hey, your Hell gigs was very well received, Vito.
I'm glad to hear that.
Is it running again?
Yeah, it will be running again on Halloween.
That's scary.
I'm terrified. I don't know if I can handle all this scariness.
I got this thing from Gail because you know how like all the yoga moms, and there's 8 of them, now they show back up with the yoga babies, and they had a Halloween party, Juliet's first Halloween party. There's no sense in showing it to Chris. So either First of all, I think it's funny that 3-month-old babies are getting dressed up.
It's cool.
And they're all laying. One of them is Elvis. One of them looks like a sweet pea. There's a baby chick in there. I don't know what Julia is, some kind of Brazilian. I guess she's a flower, like a sunshine, but
that's cool.
It's
not very scary.
Well, here's the thing. None of the kids are wearing masks. I can recognize every one of the kids. So that's the problem. But they don't. This is their first Halloween. They're 3 months old. They don't know how to dress yet. I would have dressed up like a little Trump and just have like a MAGA. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Crazy day today. We're having some comics stop in a little bit that are going to be running the marathon.
And Liz Meili and Seaton Smith, they're stopping by.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm so sick of these two acting like I'm the marathon runners. You know, and we're doing it for the New York Comedy Club. Well, guess what? The Bennington show is going to run Chris Stanley and Vito Calise all 26 plus miles. And I want you to beat these two.
I'm going to do my best, Ron.
Let's just see you run in place for a second.
Okay. I mean, I might blow up a little bit.
No,
I
you
found
won't.
out I should be, you know.
What?
Training?
Come on, knees up. Knees up. Knees up high.
Why do you have to be so high?
Put your hands like this. I want you to hit those. I want you to, that's it. You don't bring your hands down to your knees.
I have
you bring
to.
your knees
I'm
up
not
to your
gonna-
hands.
I'm not
There we go. All right. All right, that's 100 yards. It looks like you've won so far.
Man,
Another 26 miles.
No.
Dude, I want you to at least make it over the fucking bridge, over the Verrazano. I'll be fucking embarrassed if you fucking collapse on the Verrazano.
I might just stop midway and start vomiting.
I love the New York Marathon every year. I just look at the person's name like, let's go, Charles.
You're going to do it.
Here's the thing. I'm at like mile, I don't know, 16 or 17, right? The fucking guys that are really running the marathon, not the fucking, the idiots.
Normies.
They're 16 miles in. They're fucking flying past me. And I'm sitting there on the entire road. I probably get to look at them for a good 5-6 seconds before they're gone. I mean, they're fucking hauling ass.
It's shocking.
And then women are unbelievably fast. Wasn't last year the first time we had an American?
Yeah, American woman, yeah.
American woman gonna win the race.
Kravitz was at the finish line. They just knew it was going to happen.
I can't believe you're giving us the fucking Kravitz and not the fucking guess who. This is a generational problem we have, Earl.
I'm a 90s kid.
He's never heard of the fucking guess who. Which version you think is better? Because I think Kravitz would tell you.
I like the Kravitz better.
Look, all you guys are hustling to find one of the most well-known songs of all time. Earl, did it bother you that this song was done by a Canadian band? It's like they were fucking with us. Minute 6. Now, you brought up Lenny Kravitz. His daughter is posing nude for Rolling Stone magazine 30 years after her mom, Lisa Bonet, posed for that same magazine. If you go to the ibang.com, we should have a picture of both right next to each other. Go ahead and hit it.
That link wasn't working.
Now, there we are.
Wow.
Vito, I want you to come in. We're all going to judge this. Now, this is Zoe Kravitz here on the left and Lisa Bonet here on the right. It's amazing how much they look alike while at the same time having their own look. You know what I mean? She's not a clone, but you could tell that's her mom. All right, here's what we're going to do here. And by the way, there's no losers. They're both winners. This is two unbelievably sexy women. But yeah, we're going to force you to make a pick. And Vito, I'm going to go to you first. Now, I know because of your movie that you're not even familiar with either one of these. I mean, you don't know anything about anything.
Not a fucking thing.
Yeah. See, Chris even figured that out.
Yeah, you don't know shit.
I mean, you come in here just with like zero knowledge about anything.
Of anything?
Yeah.
I watched A Different World.
Earl told me that he has to put you in a wagon and pull you back to your house because you don't remember how to get there.
It does help.
Yeah. All right. So here is Zoe Kravitz on the left. And by the way, listeners, go to the ibang.com for this. You'll be glad you did. The ibang.com. Zoe Kravitz on the left and Lisa Bonet on the right.
I'm going Zoe Kravitz on the left.
Why? What's your choice come from?
One, I like her body better, if that's okay to say.
Well, that's really gross.
I prefer her body. And I saw her in person once, and she was just breathtaking. So I'm going with her.
Well, if you would see either one of them, as well as Lenny Kravitz, these are all breathtaking people.
It's a beautiful family.
By the way, the Kiss is down the hall.
In makeup?
I didn't go. Why don't you run down and say, since you're fucking asking me to do all your work? None of us know if they're in makeup.
They're not in makeup.
Then no, thank you. What is this, 1982?
Look it up here.
I mean, they just went and why don't Chewbacca come in here with no fucking makeup on? Or the voiceover guy for fucking Popeye. Earl, you're going to be next.
Going old school. Oh, God, I love Lisa Bonet. Always have.
See, I will say this. Lisa Bonet was probably more famous as a sex symbol then than her daughter is now. Now, her daughter was on, what's that fucking Wicked Little Lies, Mean Little Lies?
Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies.
You're thinking about the teen show.
Stop
Pretty Little
it,
Liars.
dude. Stop it, Chris. Let's fucking keep this adult.
Okay.
And you're picking what, just based on your own homegrown love?
Yeah, I've always been a fan. I remember getting that issue when it came out, and it was just an incredible shot. It still is.
I can't hear about your old fucking jack-off stories, dude.
Jesus.
That's fucking gross. See, you young guys don't understand this. We used to jerk off the paper.
What?
You would look at a paper.
Ew.
Somebody gave me this thing, right? I was down visiting my parents this weekend, and they go, when your nephew was here, he took a picture with us, and he said, I want you to put this on the refrigerator. Which, by the way, I'm a little annoyed by. I mean, I don't think you can demand refrigerator space. But it was like a small little Polaroid, and I literally tried to make it bigger. I went like this with my hand, and I didn't realize that I would do it. My chick goes, did you just try to make that bigger? And I yelled, no, and then I ran out of there. But it was very embarrassing, man.
It happens. I do it to laptop screens that aren't touch screens.
Oh, my God. That's way worse than me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And the worst, you called it a scream.
Yeah.
Screen. You know what I meant.
He's like, scream.
I try to get the screen.
Dude, that's fucking... Why would you do the gay fucking hand?
It's just like the dinosaur hands.
No, it isn't.
Oh.
There's nobody ever said that.
Not only that, but that's fucking Dave's bit of using both hands. Most guys would do an impression of a gay using one hand. Dave did both, and now Chris does both. Why? You stole his entire persona.
That's bullshit.
The drinking.
I drank long before I met
breaking
Dave.
up.
He told me he was going to come in with red hair last week, too.
Motherfuck, Chris.
Why would you say that at this point?
What point should he say it?
The time when Dave wasn't coming up.
Let's do this now with you. You have to put your vote.
All right. Okay. Look, since I'm an '80s kid, and the daughter has not surpassed the mother. It's Lisa Bonet. She's the fucking one.
Let's take a good long look at this. First of all, both of them are stunningly beautiful. Belly button on this, phenomenal for Zoe.
It's a great belly button.
But I do like the pooch on Lisa. And I do like a good sway back.
It's like a Nike logo, Ron.
It might be easier if I was able to look up from this direction, but I can't. The stunning thing about this is both of them have slept with Lenny Kravitz.
What?
Hot.
You're fucking disgusting. I said it as a joke, and you're like, ha, and putting both hands out there in a gay stereotype that you got from Dave and no one else. Stop stealing from him.
I don't steal from him.
You literally steal from him and then refuse to be his friend and do his show.
I am his friend. I did his show last year.
Do you realize what fucking month this is?
No.
This is the 10th month going into the 11th.
I thought it was May.
Let's suppose you were the only person bringing him water. He would have died by now. It's 3-1. I'm giving it to Lisa Bonet.
Damn.
That's okay, Vito.
You're a loser. It's fine.
Let's think of this. You get her all to yourself, and we got a fucking pool trade.
That's fine.
Chris is excited to do a trade with you guys.
Well, it ain't his first, Vito. It ain't his first.
Which side?
Dude.
That's anti-homophobic.
No, I didn't say it was bad.
Yes, he's against homophobics.
Oh, yeah.
Cam said on behalf of Canada, Chris is banned from the country for that Kravitz nonsense.
You don't have the authority to ban me from there.
Yes, he does.
Wow.
All Canadians have the right to ban anybody from their country.
That's fucked.
And you're not on good terms with the TSA from that meeting you had before you went.
No, I'm not. I mean, I can't get global entry or TSA pre-check because you get arrested once 15 years ago.
Oh,
what, man? Yeah, but you were arrested for trying to get on a plane with a quarter stick of dynamite.
I jerked off to a magazine.
Oh my God, man! Where would that come from?
You're talking about
wasn't even being discussed.
That was like 20 minutes ago.
That was fucking horrible. That was horrible, Vito.
Well, I misunderstood the concept of it.
You know what? You're off the show until your mom comes in here.
Okay. I guess I'll have to text Leslie and ask her if she can come pick me up.
Yeah.
Hey,
If
Mom,
not-
I'm in the principal's office.
If
again.
not, whoever she's dating this week. So, God, you jerked off to a magazine.
I jerked off to a
What was it,
magazine.
Sports Illustrated?
No, it's the WWE Divas edition.
Oh, God.
And I misunderstood because in movies they always the pages are always stuck together. So I thought you had to jerk off into the magazine.
First of all, if you're old enough to jerk off, you can't be that stupid.
Every movie the pages were stuck together. So I was like, I guess you have to come on the girl.
Why would you think that?
I thought it was about coming onto the picture. So I did that. And then I was like, fuck, I gotta hide this magazine.
By
now.
the way, he was in the fucking magazine fucking shop when he did this. He didn't even take it home. Yes, that's the whole fucking thing. But they're caught with a fucking stray fucking drop. Not just like you jizzing all over it.
It was making sure
Which
to get
one did you jerk off on?
Trish Stratus.
Oh.
Let's take a look at Trish, will you?
Look up Trish Stratus Divas magazine.
Well, by the way, her real name is Patricia Stratus.
Yes, that one all the way to the left.
The lingerie special?
Yeah, the lingerie special.
All right. Well, she's quite the looker. I could understand. Nice fucking hard tits. Manly legs.
Well defined.
Yeah. On behalf of Canada, you're not allowed there.
Good.
You want somebody to stay home with you?
I think
go.
I'll still get in.
I know you're not going to Moon Tower this year.
Why not?
They don't want you.
I feel like I've welcomed Austin with open arms when I'm there.
You wouldn't welcome them.
You won't welcome anyone.
You're too high on mushrooms and know what was going on.
That was
You fucking
a
mushroom
while
cat
ago.
eating motherfucker.
This last one was fine. No mushrooms at all.
Yeah, he was just eating peyote instead.
That's not true.
That's
don't
what he was
spread
doing every night.
What the fuck are you, an old cowboy? I'm going to tell you the truth. I always found a mushroom high to be a waste of time.
I've had so many bad come downs from mushrooms. And most drugs I've had bad come downs from.
That's true.
But mushrooms would get particularly introspective and bad.
Ecstasy is the worst of all the things.
Yeah.
It leads to depression.
Fuck serious depression the next day.
The next few days sometimes.
Would
I've
you
just found myself crying a day later and been like, oh God, I don't know why this is happening.
There's a receipt. You're not supposed to use all that shit up.
Yeah, just draining your brain of serotonin.
Of goodness. You just suck this goodness out of your brain. You're left with a hollow shell. Right, they put up fucking breaking news, and I try to figure out why it's breaking. I was going to say... All right, that isn't breaking. I read that 2 days ago.
Yeah.
People are so crazy, Chris. You were right when you said it earlier.
I felt that was really spot on.
You say you so cray.
Cray cray.
Bump bump ba da 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 da. You're not even bringing up the Poughkeepsie thing, Chris? Is that something you want to keep to yourself?
No, I want everyone to know that you're performing this Saturday, November 3rd at Laugh It Up Comedy Club in Poughkeepsie, New York. LaughItUp.net for tickets.
Here's the way I'm planning on ending the show and see if you like it.
How?
Hey, Poughkeepsie, I want you to Poughkeeps me. You think that that's going to fucking get me the standing ovation I'm looking for?
I think they're going to fucking love it.
You think it's wrong at the end of your show when you just yell stand up? Or what are you looking like that for? You put he's treating the microphone like it's a trumpet, and he puts his lips right up to it like he's going to do something, then you don't. Did you have a thought, Earl, that you panicked on?
No. Just looking down. I'm sorry.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-dum. I don't care about that story. I don't care about that story. Oh, Adam Vinatieri broke the NFL's all-time points record. He's number one all-time. And they said that the crowd stormed the parking lot.
It's ridiculous. They put kickers in that category.
That is it. Most points scored.
Yeah, but no one fucking gives a shit about a kicker. There should be a separate category for most points scored by a kicker.
Let me fucking... All right, I'm going to play contrarian, right?
Okay.
They care about a kicker when they fucking need him to win the game.
Yes.
Or lose the game.
But it's also a position that
it's the most tense fucking play we have in that stupid fucking game.
I was thinking actually just yesterday, if there's a kicker who could just fucking boot 70 yards, he'd probably be one of the most valuable players in the game. Like, think about it. They'd just be going to him every single fourth down.
No, they wouldn't.
They would.
Trying to score a fucking touchdown.
If a guy could kick 70 yards, you don't think they'd go to him on a fourth down from far away?
Yeah.
You think they wouldn't?
No, they would.
Yeah, he's disagreeing with that.
But he wouldn't be because
he would be. He would
still
constantly be
go
kicking
for it on fourth fucking down.
And what?
Like 4th and 2 or whatever. Because
if you have a guaranteed
you want to score fucking.
But you have a guaranteed 3 points. You're going to take the guarantee.
It's not going to be a guaranteed fucking 3 points. There's weather conditions and shit.
You've ruined the 70.
Why are you going for it on 4th and 2?
Because maybe you want to score a touchdown.
But you're already that far out.
Yes, but I understand that.
I mean, the only way that you're not, if you have a kicker that can make it, the only way you're not going to do it is if you need more than 3. That's why they fucking kick. He's talking crazy right now. I mean, you talk like somebody whose serotonin's gone. All right. Let me just, I want to say this. The Vito got fucking pwned. He fell into that Justin Bieber story where Justin Bieber was eating the burrito from the outside.
He was eating it sideways. Like
you send the story in 3 days after it happened, and they've already reported that's not Justin Bieber.
I didn't see
it.
I just saw a picture of Justin Bieber.
You know that's not. Just look at him. You know it's not him.
No tats or anything.
What do you mean no tats? It's up to his hands. He doesn't have...
Why is he doing that in L.A.? Why would you dress like that? Oh, unless you didn't have the fucking matching tats.
I don't know. Maybe it's a cold day in L.A.
First of all, no one eats a fucking burrito.
That's why I was shocked that Justin would do this.
It isn't Justin. Look at that fucking tooth. That's not even a Justin tooth.
How do you know his teeth so well?
He's the biggest star in the fucking world. You don't know Elvis Costello has a gap in his teeth? David Letterman has a gap in his teeth?
I never noticed that. I don't look at the mouth.
Yeah, apparently you don't notice a lot, do you? For a guy who gets pwned as much as you do.
Well, I mean, I feel like a fucking idiot, but in my defense, they set this up with a fake Justin Bieber lookalike. I mean,
yes.
I got
And you fell for it.
I got duped by the best in the game.
All right, but let's suppose you go home tonight. Someone's dressed up as your mom. You just going to eat dinner with her and then go lay down? No, you're going to fucking do a little research.
No, I'm going to go home. We're going to still have our cuddle session and watch TV.
Do you guys cuddle?
Oh. No, we don't cuddle.
Oh, that would have been nice.
We do sit down on the couch together and watch TV.
Do you have a show you guys like?
We really like The Deuce, but we don't watch it together because that would be uncomfortable.
I haven't watched a single episode of The Deuce this year. I started watching the first episode. I'm like, boring, boring, boring. I turn it off. I go, all right, I'll try it again later. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood. Never have. Never have. Earl, I know you and your mom like to sit down at night and watch.
Show still holds up.
Yeah, it does. He's the fucking funniest man alive. Do you have anything that you watch with your family, Earl?
My father, I watch football, baseball, mainly baseball. That's still a thing. We've done that for as long as I've been alive, watching baseball games.
Yes, people don't give up baseball.
But my parents are big Law and Order SVU fans.
Wow, it's dark, man. It's all sex crimes.
I can't. That's not something I'd want to watch with my mom.
No, not when you start jerking off all over a fucking magazine.
Yeah.
Did she find out you jerked off all over?
No, I hid those magazines very well.
It was her Sears
They're
catalog.
still
She
fucking-
definitely knew.
How old do you think I am that I jerk off to a Sears catalog?
Maybe he
Chris?
had nothing else to jack to.
I had the magazine I just brought up.
Stop sounding fucking.
There's a bra section in there. Maybe
Okay.
I did that once.
You said that you used to. Chris said that he would jerk off and get caught and wouldn't stop. He would just keep going.
That's disgusting.
I was caught. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment with my mother, my father, and my grandmother, and all three of them at different times caught me masturbating because there was no lock in the bathroom. And then they would catch me. It'd be an awkward moment, and the door would close, and I'd continue masturbating until I came.
Then you just wanted that, dude.
I didn't want it, man. I wanted to have a nice fucking private moment in my home.
Most people would stop because they just got caught.
If you're close, you got to get it out.
All right. What's with our Instagram that people are writing to me? You just put something up.
Yeah.
Go to Instagram. Earl, do you know about this? It's you. Air guitaring, they're saying?
Yes.
What? Wait, Chris, you don't even have it?
Might not be up yet.
Refresh.
I'm gonna refresh.
How would people be writing to me if it's not up yet? You said our computer is behind?
Yes.
Oh, it's on the phone. It's on the phone feed. Okay, that's where everyone will be seeing it.
What do you mean on the phone feed?
Like the Instagram is mainly a phone app, not a. Oh, here we go. It just got up.
It's
Here.
up there now.
All right. Your thing didn't make any sense. Go ahead. Give us some sound. That's fucking hilarious, Earl. You happily did it, huh?
I thought he was going to stop when he made eye contact with me, but it felt like he was just into the audience. It's a good smile, Earl.
I'm having fun.
He has fun, he says.
You do have fun, Earl.
Yeah, you do have fun.
Fucking weirdo.
What is that weird?
I'm weird. You're jacking up in front of your parents.
Yeah,
and I'm
you know
weird.
what? Earl's right. You fucking, your parents saw your little fucking dick getting stroked, and you stayed with it. All right, let's break here. I want to go down and see Kiss without their makeup. I got to read this first?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, and then you have to read that. Read this.
When you live in the country or in a small town, you know a few things that the city types don't. Things like which back roads flood, the best fishing spots, the owner of the hardware store, and the county's best AAA quarterback. I think there should be some background music to this. It sounds really nice. You also know the way things ought to be done. Dish was built to serve small town America, and because of that, they share your small town approach. Talk straight, deal fair, and most of all, listen. Dish knows that when you're out past the last cable line, you make even stronger connections. And so they strive to present real choices and provide real service, the kind you don't just expect but deserve. In small towns, you take care of each other. So let Dish take care of you with the latest technology, professional installation, better programming, and first-rate service from the retailer that lives in and supports your community. Dish listens. That's how they stay tuned into you.
Welcome back to Bennington. Liz Meili and Seaton Smith are in studio.
Love them.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
The Di Gregorio Family Foundation Benefit Show is happening tomorrow night at the New York Comedy Club. Liz Meili, Seaton Smith, Rich Voss, and Judy Gold are all performing.
Wow, great show.
All proceeds go towards research focused on curing gastric and esophageal cancer.
Cancel?
Go to NewYorkComedyClub.com for tickets.
Dude, why hasn't someone done Let's Cancel Cancer? That would be fantastic.
That's sharp.
By the way, that new club is so great.
Oh my God, it's so pretty.
Fantastic.
Complete opposite of what it was before.
Yes.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
Which makes you think that every shithole should be embarrassed about themselves.
Oh yeah.
Because they could do better.
But Emilio did that twice
I know,
because
that's right.
New York was, horrible. I lived 2 blocks away, and this was like in college, and I just wanted to work that club because I could roll out of bed and do the club. Never could get work, and then of course I live in Bumblefuck, Brooklyn, and now they book me. But it's like so much. It's well run.
Yeah.
They're nice people.
Yeah, when you see like how a well-run club goes, and then you think about the badly run clubs, you go, what?
Yes.
It's basic shit. It wasn't even that complicated.
Yeah.
It's just like, just treat people like human beings.
Yes.
They're like, no,
don't
thank you.
lie to them blatantly. Don't steal money from them. Fucking have a working mic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Police the room. Little things. Not even 10-point plan. 9-point plan.
This is the easiest sound in show business to pull off. And some people struggle with it. Yeah.
Looking for microphones.
Yeah.
Looking for lying to people to come in. We got Chris Rock and Seinfeld in there. And instead of telling them, all right, listen, we got a guy in there struggling, learning how to do comedy.
Yeah.
Do you mind? No, you got to lie to
Isn't
him.
that something that someone that buys those things in Times Square is like, do you really, what time, where was Jerry? We were told Jerry and Chris Rock come by.
Yeah.
They told people when I was doing like LOL like years ago, they told people Tina Fey was going to be on the show. She doesn't do stand up.
Yeah.
So you're wrong for thinking she does stand up, and you're wrong for telling people she's going to be there. And then everybody, like, you just stop doing the club because you're like, I don't want to support these lies. Like it helps nobody that these people on the street are telling them that the celebrities that don't even do stand up are going to be at the show.
And by the way, you can't tell me that they can fill up rooms in the Lower East Side, but not Times Square. Just book some good people there, and they would love to sit and work to tourists that came into Times Square.
Yeah, comedians like money.
Yeah.
That's all they do. Money and being treated well. And
neither like much. Like, it's so funny with like all the kind of Louis C.K. scandals and people at the cellar. Like, they keep saying, you should boycott the club because he's going there. And you're like, or like, you shouldn't do the show. And you're like, do you know how little money I make?
Right.
Like, it's so funny where they look at everybody else and they're like, you guys should also control who gets in that room. And you're just like, I make $30.
Yeah.
I make $30 tonight. And you want me to, it's like a part of you could be like, well, that's no loss. But you're like, there's months that I pay my rent $30 at a time. Like, it's so funny how people don't understand how it works, but there's so many shows on television that say how it works, and they just assume they know your life.
I just hate people who just keep trying to kick people out of groups. I hate those people. I've always been an outsider in general. I'm like, why are these people always with these doors? I'm black, and so there's always been black people always trying to kick black people out of the race. Always. Oh, he's banned from the race. Man, who is this person with this power to ban people from things?
Right.
I can't.
You're like, is this a Facebook group I didn't even want to join in the first place?
Spread the word. We banning him. No, we're not banning him. We're not kicking Kanye out the race. It's literally, there's no paperwork to do this.
Yeah.
You have to just accept it.
It's also like, it's clearly mental illness. Like, at the end of the day, everybody's going around being like, if your friends are sad, make sure you call this number. We're all responsible for caring. And then Kanye's being crazy in the White House, and they're like, fuck him. He should die. And you're like, that's what mental illness looks like.
Yeah, he's mentally ill.
I don't know what to but it's so funny. They're like, no. We like sad mental illness. We don't like batshit crazy mental illness. And you're like, yeah, it's part of the same family.
Yeah, people who live in New York and see him and then like who ride the train and tell me that doesn't look familiar to you.
Right.
You're lying to me. Right?
Same.
You're just lying.
It's the exact same.
Same sentence structure. Yeah. The same eyes of white women.
Same hats.
Same hats.
Same hats.
Yeah, same. I mean,
here's the thing though. Crazy with money, you're never stopping that. You know what I mean?
No.
Well, there's too many yes men.
Yeah.
There's too many. And I'll say this, like, I've dealt with that level of crazy. there is kind of no negotiation. Like
Right.
somebody has to throw him into a mental hospital, which sounds sad as shit, but there's nobody that's going to pick up Kanye being like, dude, we're going to get ice cream.
The other thing when it comes to like fucking, somebody has mental problems and get them help. My partner Fez went through years of it. And we go, he'd be really on the edge. And we're like, let's do that. Are you going to commit? Yeah. Okay, somebody will see you in 7 or 8 months. When he was on the edge that fucking minute.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? My brother has he has bipolar 1, so he's had psychotic breaks. My brother got prescribed an antipsychotic. We were trying to keep him out of the hospital for the 4th time, and my mom made a promise that she wasn't going to hospitalize him again. And it's literally exactly like the movies. It is horrific to be inside there. So we made a promise. They gave him an antipsychotic. The health insurance company denied it. It took us 2 weeks to get it again, and by then it was too late. We had to hospitalize him. He was like literally like stabbing trees and like was doing some scary shit. And you're just like, even when people do want help, and even when you do try, there's all these kind of barriers.
Sure.
There's truly no excuse for Kanye West except for the fact that when you're that famous, you have yes men surrounding you, and you have people that are like, yeah.
I wouldn't even call it fame. I would call it productivity. When you're productive in America,
people are making so much money off him. Yeah, absolutely. And what's sad about it is he's, you know what I mean? He is a genius. He has made incredible music. He probably is a good person, but he's at a level where like people are just like, the music industry and honestly all of Hollywood just kind of squeezes everything out of you, and as soon as he really loses it, they'll just dispose of him.
Again, I'm going to go back to I don't think it's a Hollywood problem. It is literally a capitalist problem. Not to be socialist on the Bennington hour. I'm not trying to do that right now.
Enjoy it.
But if you think about it, most of the problems we have in America are over excess of the capitalistic mentality. For example, the prison system, which has 80% black people, but we feel like we have more black people in prison now than we had as slaves. It's like an absurd amount. Yeah. And it's grown, but it's a capitalistic thing. It's like all privatized prisons going, we need more bodies to make more money. So therefore, it's like, wait, this isn't actually how. This should not be a profit business.
It should have never been privatized. And what's sad about that is that right towards the end of Obama, they finally were like, no more privatized prisons, and then as soon as Trump came in, he reversed it. So it went right back. Like there was a little baby start of maybe something going better, and then they just reversed it. It's horrifying. Yeah,
I went to this is just extra sad. And then we're going to talk about something hopefully fun.
No. Fun. We're going to take it even lower.
Take it even lower. Fine not. Fun perspective. Slavery ends 1965, and then new laws were created. We all know the Jim Crow laws. Like public drunkenness wasn't illegal until after 1865. Why? Because it was fun you could arrest the newly freed slaves, put them back in prison, and then they'd be going back to the cotton field farms as prisoners, working in the same fields they just fought a war to get out of. And that has continued for the last 135 years.
That's why you got to think about white guys are so ingenious. No matter what the rules are,
Really?
white guys will find a way.
I like how you made this positivity. You're like, we got to talk about how smart they are. Though.
No, I mean, you got to applaud it. Like the dude, the Georgia guy. Yeah. Did you see that election that he's on?
Oh, yeah.
He's running for governor, but yet he's in charge of the voting committee.
Yeah, of course.
And he's already on tape going, listen, if everybody votes, I'm fucked. So we got to figure out a way for him to stop voting.
White guys are about 6 months from taking over the Me Too movement. They just... It's something... By the way, Chris.
Liz Meili and Seaton Smith are in studio. The D. Gregorio Family Foundation benefit show that's happening tomorrow night at New York Comedy Club. Liz Meili, Seaton Smith, Rich Voss, Judy Gold. All proceeds go towards research focused on curing gastric and esophageal cancer. NewYorkComedyClub.com for tickets.
And Chris, you're not bringing up, these guys are running the New York Marathon for this cause.
Yes,
are
sir.
you guys... It's not that far away, right? It's a couple weeks.
It's on Sunday.
Oh, it's this Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Less than 6 days.
We're
Why
resting
aren't
right
you
now.
Stretching.
I know. I'm worried. My elbow hurts, and I don't know if that has to do with anything.
Yeah. Now, I live on First Avenue. I always watch them run by. Are you guys going to have like the little pin on you so I know when you're coming past
You
me?
can actually track us. That's the cool thing. The app now is amazing.
Yeah, I did it last year with some friends.
Yeah. So our bibs will have some kind of tracky thing on it. But if you go to the TCS New York City Marathon app, download it, and then put our names into the Track the Runner, we'll come up, and you can literally, I think you can see little dots, like little Seaton.
Yeah, I did. Now, it doesn't happen like right to the moment.
Yeah.
But I will know within a minute or two whether you're going by.
Yeah.
And It is phenomenal to see, like, people's families will be yelling and stuff. Now, do you guys have people coming to support you?
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
My boyfriend just got work out of town, so he's out. I told him he has to call me like every mile on the mile. Like I was like,
You're gonna have your phone with you?
Well, yeah, I will have my phone with me.
You be talking about for real?
No, I'm joking. But I was a little bit like, if you're gonna miss this, I also told him I was just gonna be dead on his floor when he got back. So I was like, so you might need to feed me. Like, just have food.
What's the furthest you guys have run, like, say, in the last couple months?
15 miles for me.
In the last couple months. Oh, yeah, like 6 miles.
Yeah, he's fucked.
All right,
like
so
he's
you got to
super.
go 20 miles past.
I got to go 20.2 miles past the 6 miles. Yeah, no.
He's not only gonna be fine, but he's probably gonna beat me because he's like filled with positivity and light
Yes,
and
he
happiness.
is.
Like, he's one of those people that, like, I'm like, well, if Seaton can do it, maybe I can do it.
Oh, thanks.
It's true though. He's like, he's one of those people that I have like no doubts. I, on the other hand, is like, I want some signs, guys. I need some, like, Liz, you can do it. We believe in you. We'll give you $1 if you finish.
No, I needed some help last night. I was worried because I was talking to Michelle Wolf, as you know, she runs ultra marathons. Which,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's an ultra. She's pretty crazy. She actually,
She's on like 50 milers and
50
stuff.
milers. She
Yeah.
scoffs at 26. Like, I'll do that this morning.
But she does. She, like, when you look at her training, she's like, yeah, I do that to train for my 50 milers. And you're like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm like, she said, you could do it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just do it then. And I just didn't think
Just
about it.
do it.
Just do it. It ain't going to be no big
I think
deal.
a lot of people way out of shape and they're just half walking. They make it into a pleasant day instead of pushing themselves.
So I ran it when I was 19,
Yeah.
and I was like completely unprepared. This is how unprepared I was. I thought it was just like a long race, and then they told me it was 26 miles, and I was so like, I was 19, I just didn't know what that meant. Like, even 26, it didn't register what that meant. Then I ran 10 miles, and I was so tired. I sat in a chair when I got home, and I fell asleep in the chair for 2 hours, like in my dirty clothes. Like,
Nice.
and then I started freaking out. But I think when it comes to like marathons, for the most part, they're fine. Like, it's like training makes it less painful during and after, but it really is a lot of kind of mental stuff and like just knowing what your pace is. But when I did the New York City Marathon when I was 19, I took it so seriously. And then I see, because it's people from all over the world, they're like taking pictures, they're stopping to look at monuments. I was like,
Just stop and look at monuments.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do that. I didn't know that was.
But that's what I'm saying. Is
stop
that,
you.
but that's what I'm saying.
Keep running, boy. You better keep running.
But I didn't. It sounds really silly. You say race, I thought it was a race. So I was doing the best I could to get the best time. And I was always raised like, be the best and you take everything seriously. And then people are taking selfies and like high-fiving people and like walking. And I was like,
there's always somebody running in high heels or carrying
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
I was like,
carrying a
people are
pole.
having fun.
Yes.
That's fun.
Chris, I want you to check on the weather. And then also, Earl, you could help too. Look up celebrities that are running this year, because I've seen a lot of people over the years run.
You mean us?
Yes.
That'd be dope.
You should be.
Maybe Kevin Hart will come in. That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
Kevin Hart did it, I think, last year. Diddy has done it before.
Did he? Yeah, that was great.
Oh, that's the worst, is when you find out the other times and then you mentally just have to be like, they are millionaires and have like the best trainers.
Yes.
Because like everybody's like, Oprah did it. And I was like, oh, you mean the famous
Right.
God knows how many millions of dollars Oprah did it?
She's
I'm
in
sure
the
she had.
billionaire club now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure
she
she
is.
had the best trainer.
What do you got?
It's going to be 56 degrees out. on
Perfect.
Sunday.
That actually is perfect.
Nice.
Perfect. You don't want it too warm?
Some clouds. But
Oh, yeah,
but
you want
not
some
overcast.
clouds.
I think 2 years ago, it poured rain the entire time and it was like 40 degrees. And I remember going to a show and just being, I'm so glad I didn't run it this year. Because I can do cold, I can do rain. I can't do cold rain. That is the most miserable thing.
I used to run a lot. Like, I don't run as much anymore. Like, I was really in love with it for about 3 or 4 years back when I was like a big drinker. Because when it's fun, if you can't drink during the day, a good solution is running. Because if you drink at night a lot, like I used to drink like half a bottle a night, and the next morning you hate yourself so much that the running is kind of almost like a super more punishment.
Yeah.
And so I was a great runner. I could just pump out 20 miles without thinking about it. But now I kind of, I switched to weed. I have more love for myself. So I don't know. It's gonna be cool.
Well, I remember. So he got into running, and I've been doing marathons. I didn't do any for 4 years, but there was a good stretch for 10 years where I did at least 1 or 2 a year. So Seaton, I remember he texted me. He's like, "Hey, you're a big runner. Can you help me with stuff?" And so I'm like giving him advice, and then I check in on him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just did 10 miles," and I was just like, "Okay, well, I'm just
Right."
He literally is like, he picks up a trade and then he like perfects it, and I'm just like, "Well, I'm not your coach anymore. You're my coach."
I don't even know what's 10 miles away from here. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know where to go with that. All right, Chris, you got any?
Terry Hatcher will be running.
Yes!
Ooh,
Yes!
you got to beat Terry Hatcher.
I just saw that Seinfeld episode again. I love that woman.
She's great.
Brian Darcy James.
Don't know.
Oh, man, I'm not hip like that.
What's he's done?
I only know 95 references.
I think he was in 13 Reasons Why. It's a show. I
Oh,
watched.
okay, good.
There you go. I don't know.
Tiki Barber will be.
Oh, nice.
Watch out that Rodney Barber isn't helping him because they've done this before.
I could see that.
Nev Schulman.
Who's that?
I don't know, Nev.
Not sure. Nev. He was in Cat. He was always part of Catfish. He's one of the guys who started the Catfish documentary.
Oh, 334 time. He's a
Yeah,
man.
no, all these people are running
They're
fast.
crazy.
Erin Hamlin. She was an Olympian.
Okay, she should be in a race then. Who's that? Eric from the Grind?
This is Michael Chernow. He started the Meatball Shop. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. There's one in my neighborhood.
I was gonna say. I was like, I don't think he eats meatballs.
No.
Yeah, I mean, what a thing to come up with. Meatballs. Want some? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Another celebrity chef, Dan Churchill.
I don't know his restaurant.
Yeah, well, that's a butt shot.
I ain't talking trash about chefs. They're crazy.
Daniel Hum.
What do you
He's from 11 Madison Park. These mostly chefs with celebrities. And
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'd like to see, I want to see a Brad Pitt in this thing.
I think it's us.
What about Casey Neistat? I'm just reading now, reading comments. I'm just really looking for celebrities now.
Yeah, is there any other comics doing this?
Not that I know of. I don't think running is a comedy thing. I mean,
you're right.
It's
But
more
you
like
know-
gambling, I think, is the best comedy sport.
No, it was really interesting. I was sitting by myself, eating dessert by myself at the cellar. Yeah, no, I'm like, and I was eating, it was so funny. I was eating tiramisu because I was sad, but it wasn't that good that night. And Wayne Fetterman and Ronnie Chang were sitting at the other table. And Wayne is like, Liz. And I was like, yeah. He goes, is that good? And I go, it's not as good as I wanted it to be. And he's like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know, I'm sad. And then I started talking to him and he's like, what's going on? I was like, I think I'm tired. I ran 10 miles today. I'm just kind of in my head. I don't feel like I should do this marathon. And he goes, oh, I ran the New York City Marathon. I go, really? He goes, yeah, the comic strip used to have a running team. And he ran it in 1985, which that's the year I was born.
Right.
And so then he started telling me about this running team, in the 80s, and a bunch of comics were doing it. And it was just like one of the best conversations I had at the cellar, where he's just telling me about who was running. It was like a camaraderie, because there's a bunch of comics that play basketball in Queens and stuff like that. And I've always kind of felt it's not my skill. But it was like one of those things that I was like, I know it sounds silly, but I was like, I wouldn't have thought in the 80s there would be a comedy running
Yeah,
team.
well, you're going to get it out of there and not Catch a Rising Star, where all the coke addicts were.
But those are the ones that should be running.
Yeah, but they're already keeping their heart going.
Yeah, that's true.
They're already doing the same amount of cardiovascular stuff that you need to do. Plug away, Chris.
The D. Gregorio Family Foundation Benefit Show. It's happening tomorrow night in New York Comedy Club. Liz Meili, Seaton Smith, Rich Voss, Judy Gold. NewYorkComedyClub.com for tickets. And Liz and Seaton will be running in the New York City Marathon this Sunday. Download the TCS NYC Marathon app to track their progress.
And Liz, you're not for the banning of anybody. You're just like, hey, I'm just doing my set.
Yeah, I don't want to ban anybody. I mean, I have opinions about how you can make every environment a safer space.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I don't know. And I know that it's hard as both a woman and a comedian, and I've been only a woman slightly longer. I swear.
Right.
It weirdly does become part of your identity to be a comedian. And I think it was Seinfeld that's like, I can relate to a comedian way more than I can relate to a family member. So it's really hard to kind of be in both of those worlds and straddle it in a thoughtful way. But society will decide if somebody wants to be there or not. And he has fans, and either the fans come out and support him or they don't. It doesn't have to be everybody's choice. And to make everybody make that choice, I just think it's, if you do anything wrong, and this is outside of sexual assault, so don't people get angry and stuff like that. But think of it this way. Somebody writes a shitty tweet and we throw them away. We just throw them away for something that, whether they meant it or not, their life is completely gone. And it's like, we're brought up as kids that we're allowed to make mistakes, and we encourage kids to make mistakes. And then we tell adults you need to be perfect at all times, and we give them no room to grow. We don't let people, and I'm not, it's a big one and it's a long going one and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think sexual assault is just a mistake.
Let me cut in real quick. I think though, when you put words down on paper, humans change. Y'all ever notice that? I could tell you the same thing, but if I write down exactly what I said, that'll just fuck your head up a little bit more. Have you know, for example, I don't know, this is a fun story. I don't know if you heard this book called The Fear of God. This great story this dude wrote about this is going to be a confusing link, but here we go. It's a weird short story about religion, right? So he was like about the story about this guy who created this golem just to do chores around the house for him. And this golem treated this dude like a god. And so everything this guy said, the golem just wrote it down like, okay, what'd you say? I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. But then the golem started to get too complicated. He was like, yo, can you just do the laundry? And the golem would be like, well, what kind do you want? You was tied with no color or tied bleach? He'd be like, whatever, tied bleach. Okay, tied bleach with safe color. So he just get so minute that the guy was like, man, fuck this golem. Let me create another golem. Create another golem, right? And the other golem started doing exactly what the other golem started to do, except he would write different words down. And so both of those guys would write down words, and then they would argue about exactly what the guy said, even though the guy was standing right there. So then he wrote a third one, and the third golem fucked up everything. So he just left the house and he let the golems have the house. Well, I just think it's like just kind of a kind of how we use as human beings. I just feel like I'm okay. I don't know. Let me just say, parallel wise, I really believe I forgive racist people. There are some people who are just racist when they're drunk and then they're not racist anymore. But have you seen on Instagram? There is a slew. I'm not taking a sexual harassment. There's a slew of white people now who are having racist rants, black people recording them, and they're losing their jobs. It is like a phenomenon. It's making me like, I don't know if that's the exact solution, because I just think it's like Kanye West. There's something else going on with those people. It's not just.
But you have to go, hey, you said this thing. It's offensive, it's wrong, it's fucked up, whatever it is. Do you really feel this way? And if their first answer is yes, let's say even they're lying, or their first answer is no. Let's say they're lying. They actually do feel this way, but they don't want to lose their job or whatever. You could be like, all right, well, this is how it made people feel, or this is what it sets up. Would you be willing to be in a place where you can learn about what certain words and actions do to other people and figure it out? And if they say yes and are willing to, I mean, I'm not saying everybody's going to be fixed that way, but it's like you have to at least open up a door for people to learn. And we're at a place where it's like, no, you do something wrong, no. And then you just have these people that are only going to resent the community or the people even more because they lost everything. And I get that, like, society is trying to set an example. I 100% get that. Like, we're going to lose a couple because we're setting an example, so then everybody else gets the message, and that's fine. But do we have to lose everybody? And again, this is not even about Louis. Do we have to lose everybody and not show people how you can better this? I mean, maybe I shouldn't say it on the radio, but I think something bad happened to him as a child. Like, to me, I've learned enough about child abuse to be like, bad things happen to people and they just keep recreating it if they never have gotten help. Does that make it okay? No, he's an adult now. He's an adult with a lot of money, and he's an adult that takes care of...
Not as much. He lost a lot after this whole thing. He lost like $35-40 million. So.
Yeah, but he's an adult that can get help, and that goes back to the Kanye thing. There's nobody in his circle that's willing to say you need help. And that's what's truly sad to everybody. And then, of course, there's evil people. You think of like the Weinstein stuff. That's just evil people helping other evil people do evil stuff. That's just evil. Like, I don't think there's anything coming back from that.
That clarification between Louis and Weinstein, like defining evil from people that are kind of like. I'm sorry. I'm not going to. I can't defend it. But yeah, one is sick and one is like evil, and like treating everybody like evil is not going to help the problem. Like I'm saying that as a black man, but white people, you can't hate them all. It's just not useful.
No, because if you go with racism, you look at some people and you go, that's somebody that was raised by somebody that was filled with hate, and I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think they know the pain that they're causing. Are you going to continue to let those people unconsciously or consciously be evil without helping them? And I know what, you have the other side of it. They're like, why is it my responsibility to help people? As a woman, as a black person, as, you know what I mean? As somebody that's transgender, there's a lot of people that go, I get that is true, but why is it always the victim that has the responsibility to help the people that are oppressing other people or hurting other people? I get that side of it as well. I hate that argument
so much. Victims, yeah. Like if you're a victim, you got caught by something, and then you keep talking about, I'm a victim, then you're the only person that can solve your problem. It's kind of like when somebody hurts you, you have to forgive them in order for you to move on with life.
And it's frustrating. I mean, I will be honest, it's also frustrating. And it's so funny because the biggest thing with all this stuff is they're always just like, well, you know, like they always say with women, they're just like, well, why didn't you say something? But I got trapped in a green room this weekend it was me and another female comic with a booker. He did nothing inappropriate. He was just exhausting. Like talk, ask so many questions, and it was like before our sets, and like we just wanted to like get in our heads, and we felt like we could, and this was just him talking. And it's just like, if I don't even feel comfortable telling this guy to shut up or leave or whatever, what happens when things get worse?
I know,
and
he pulled his dick out, didn't he?
I actually texted the comic and I was just like, I wish you'd pull his dick out. I was just like, it would be less exhausting than him mansplain comedy to me.
Well, you know what, when you were bringing up like, you know, a safety place. Or,
a safe environment, yeah.
The cellar is probably out of every place the safest. Every place has a manager. Every place has a giant doorman. You know what I mean? Like,
I will say this though, and this is not a critique on the cellar. This is critique on community and and clubs in general. If someone touched me at the cellar or did something that made me uncomfortable, I don't know if I would tell somebody. And I'm being perfectly honest. We're in an environment that says, hey, you can say anything. But I still don't know what's going to happen there. And it's not a critique on them. It's a critique on the fact that I'm not in a stable place in my community. Yeah. I don't have the TV credits that most people here have. So if somebody with more power did something, would I still be comfortable telling Noam or telling Esty or telling Liz? Not to say that they would do anything wrong, but what happens if nothing happens?
I don't think you should share that out loud.
Yeah.
I don't think you should say, I'm probably not going to say anything.
But that's the point. Even with everything that's gone on, I don't know if I would tell anybody at any club.
Yeah,
now, do I think they're making do I think they're doing anything to make it purposely unsafe? No, I don't.
I think that there's a lot of clubs that, I mean, like 2 weeks ago used to be fucking a country bar or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of places that it's not safe for anybody, let alone if, you know, some woman your size is in there. You know?
But I've spent 16 years making I don't drink at clubs. I mean, I haven't drank in 4 years, but even when I did, I wouldn't drink at comedy clubs. I made sure that I would, like, if I felt uncomfortable, I would ask somebody to walk me to the subway or walk me to my car. If I wear a dress, I wear leggings. If I usually wear jeans, like, I'm very conscious that if I'm coming home after 11, because I have a 15-minute walk to my apartment from the subway, that I'm wearing something that's somewhat difficult. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, I think before I leave every single day.
You know, you said something earlier about how you can't have a dialogue about this situation without getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Here's something that happened. My boxing coach, right? He got in trouble because he was with a girl at night, and they were observing how this one woman was getting bullied by the boyfriend she was with, and like it almost looked like it was abusive. And he was going like, "Yo, she needs to figure out a way to defend herself and whoop that dude's ass." And the woman he was with was just like, "I can't believe you'd be so insensitive and to say something like that. I don't want to talk to you and ruin the night." But from my end, I'm like, if you're a boxing coach and you train women every day, that's not an offensive statement. He's like, I want to give that woman power. She needs to come to my class so you can whoop his ass.
Yeah.
But like if you just thinking, oh, that's a misogyny thing to say, it's like, no.
But that's also his perspective. I'm going to empower her in the only way that I know how to empower people, which is with muscles and skills.
Yeah.
But I'm in a place that we're trying to teach women that you should speak up for yourself, because if you don't speak up for yourself, nothing will happen. And I'm saying I still struggle with that, even though I support the movement, even though I support, both sides of what's going on, both, the clubs being like, is it our place to make decisions about people's careers? And female comics going, I don't know when I'm safe, how I'm safe, and who's going to support my safety.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets complicated, because I'm both. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what made me really resentful is when all this stuff started coming out, because they started to attack the comedy community, and they're like, women aren't safe in comedy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been doing it for 16 years. All my friends are guys. Like, if I feel unsafe, the first thing I do is get away from those people. So that's the thing, is like, it might not be as productive, and I know a lot of women that are going to be like, you should always constantly say stuff. But my first thing is, I don't go to the comedy clubs that make me feel uncomfortable, and it's usually bookers, to be honest. But it's like, I won't go there. I won't work there. There's a whole group of female comics that they'll be like, oh, I saw you were in, Columbus. How was that gig? And I'll be like, oh, it was good, but just be careful for X, Y, and Z reasons, or you know what I mean? And then it's their decision of like, he made me uncomfortable, but nothing happened. Okay, well, I'll decide if the money's worth being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And we've always had this little circle.
See, were you even aware when you hear stuff like this? Because I didn't know that some of these things that she's saying.
I mean, when I was on the college circuit, there was this notorious dude, who was the college tour rapist. You ever heard that dude?
I did. I've heard of that.
He was a college comic, super clean. This is why I don't trust clean comics.
Was it Vince?
Was that his name?
Vince Champ?
Was that the one that was like the FBI had to like link it together?
Yeah, he was a friend of mine.
No.
In Florida, yeah. He was a guy that I knew very well, and he used to play my club.
Wow.
And the way that they linked it, and first of all, nobody that I knew of thought that he was anything but an overly nice guy. You know what I mean? Like
so
he was
scary.
Yeah. And but you're right, super clean, very but the way that they put it together was during the tour, and they found out that his, back then people would carry like a calendar with them. It kind of lined up with where the rapes were. And a lot of these places, he was the only black dude at that place. It was like white colleges. Yeah. Well, yeah, he was a black dude. And really, the only thing I would say about him is that he used to massage women's backs all the time. And people were like, he's weird. That's weird the way he's always trying to come by and massage somebody's back. That was it.
That'd be the only thing people said.
That was the only thing they said. You know what? That massaging thing he does is a little weird.
No,
but he also would cry with them after and ask them to pray with me. It was pretty fucking. It was like he was fighting some crazy demon.
So what? How does that? And this might be a weird question. How does that make you feel that like here's somebody that you knew and you had no idea, and then you have to go, am I missing other signs? Like, is it one of those things where you feel, because you said all he would do is like, were there people that always said he made them feel uncomfortable?
No, I'm saying that was like the only slightest thing is that, and women did dig him very much. I mean, he could, that was not even part of it. No one saw it. Like, I never met one single person who thought, like it was one of those things that shocked everybody, that stunned everybody.
Did he have any like super close friends that were like?
That I couldn't tell you, because I think, from him being touring through, I only knew people that knew him as a comedian. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know how that is. Like, the guy.
Honestly, there's like, I call them like coworkers and like coworker friends and then friends. Like you almost have to, you know what I mean? Like,
did he like admit it at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did. And and this was a long time ago, long enough now that I'm thinking, he could certainly be
back
out for, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's got like another couple hours.
He comes out with his Akon of comedy.
But he was one of those guys who was like, all right, you understand? Like he was like almost like
Carlton?
Yes. That's a good call.
Jeez.
Like that type of thing where like there were plenty of people that he was their black friend. You know what I mean?
Man.
A lot of people who didn't have any black friends had him as a black friend.
They should do a study and wonder, like, I wonder whatever Vince had, it did. Bill Cosby had the same thing too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, there's like
it is. It's usually good looking guys or very clean, like tell people what they're supposed to do. And I don't know if it's always like, not to say that Tiger Woods, but like the Tiger Woods thing is that his whole shtick was that he was like a clean family man, and then he was doing all this kind of.
I'm going to argue that was completely different. Let's not put Tiger Woods in the rape conversation.
I'm not putting him in the.
That was a man.
No. But I'm not putting him in the rape thing.
Sex.
No, I'm not putting that at all. But like he was clearly like he made, because let's put it this way: if he had like a Jim Norton thing, like, well, I'll do whatever, like a rock and roll like lifestyle, and then cheated on his wife with all this stuff, nobody would care. But it's because he made his appearance and everything he did family and clean and whatever, so that when he was having this debaucherous lifestyle that was all consensual, it made everything crumble. completely different scenario, but we do have a lot of people that make themselves very clean-cut family. Every sponsor is like a dream. And then when they do something messed up, they go, oh, that's so outside of what we thought you were. You're gone.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think Cosby was ever interested in consensual. I don't think it turned him on whatsoever.
No, that's some evil shit.
I'm wondering too, because I don't know if that was a '60s black men thing. I wonder how old Vince was, because there was another dude in the Black Panthers, Eldridge Cleaver, who turned out to be one of the evil, craziest people. But he wrote a book called Solo on Ice, which was like everybody loved it. But I remember the first few chapters was all about how I used to rape a bunch of black women, right? And then once I started raping white women, that's when I went to jail.
Yeah. And you're like, what?
I was saying, this is an interesting take on. This is an interesting take on his whole problems. It was when the white women was when the rapists started to suck, huh?
Yeah.
But then I don't know. Then Cosby, and then this Vince guy. I'm like, I wonder if there's
how would you feel? How would you feel if somebody said, "This is how I was raised. I don't think it's right." What are your feelings as a black man? Would you take offense to that? Like, would you actually sit down and be like,
Wait, are you talking about race? Or are you talking about,
we'll say race. Like,
if I was raised racist, white people tell me shit all the time.
And do you feel the need to be like, that is hurtful to me? And
well, no, the ones that are telling me that are the ones that are like self-aware. So like, listen, I used to be racist, but I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
We're cool. The ones usually people who are racist aren't really aware of themselves. I mean, I'm just, I don't know. I've never met a very evolved man who also was just like, I believe.
I grew up in a very racist neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of racist stuff happened, and my family would be considered racist by today's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time I ever heard about, like someone brought it up to me, including black people, was when I was in Canada when I was 17. Someone said, "Hey, seem like you're a racist." And I'm like, what? What? So it literally took that long before even, but I wouldn't even think that the black kids that I grew up with would have called us racist, because it was the same kind of environment where our neighborhood, your neighborhood, that whole kind of thing.
Yeah, what was your reaction though?
I was fucking taken aback. It literally stayed in my head for a long time and made me, rethink.
That's pretty amazing, because most people just get defensive, and then they start to build up a case of why you're wrong, and to have that, at least to have that self-awareness, to be like, oh.
Well, that's the thing about aging, is that you are constantly having to find out that you lived in facts that are no longer facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter who you are. And that's why when they go, oh, the 70s were better, the 80s were better, what they're saying is, I knew what the rules were then.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Things change without you never progress as fast as progress. No one does.
But I think it's gotten even faster. And I think that's what's really fast. I think it's getting so fast that there's I think let's put it this way, as a woman and as a feminist, I'm not caught up. I'm not. And I even say, like, I try to be the best I can, but I'm going to say ignorant stuff. I'm going to say stuff that I'm just not ready to handle. Even just saying, even what I said about the club, which is most clubs, I don't know if I'm there yet. And that's my issue. And I'm trying, but I'm still struggling in my career, and I'm still struggling to find out who are allies, and I'm still struggling to find out if I'm ready for the consequences. And that's why when they tell people that come out, like Dr. Ford or Brave, it's like, yeah, there are real consequences, and you don't know how people are going to react, because you don't know anymore who's catching up with the rules.
Sure. Families will not want to hear things because it ruins the family dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we had a way of being, and now you've shattered that. You've shaken us all up.
Yeah, but I've done it. I've failed in so many, like, especially when you talk on the microphone for 15 years, you start to see, like, oh, okay, that was racist. Like, I've heard old jokes of mine and go, ooh, that didn't age well at all.
Yeah.
Oh, man, my perspective on
plenty
women.
of people did gay stuff because that was...
It was hilarious.
Yeah, and it was kind of the meme. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, oh, well, this is an easy, good joke to do. I can get that. Find it. And then you're like, well, I couldn't possibly. But I can't keep up with all the trans stuff because I'm not thinking about it. But people are constantly going to use the word, and you're like, well, I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
but they should, at the very least, I think comics are. I think they're. Maybe I'm making a general. I think comics are trying. I think comics are at the forefront.
Yeah.
So when people come up to me, I've had people come up to me saying, "You said this. This is how I read it. I don't know if you were trying to," and they say it in a nice way, and I go, oh, this is a great perspective. Can I hold that in my brain and figure it out for myself? Rather than you get these people that are like, you said this and this is horrible and fuck you. And you're like, whoa, I just learned about this rule. I know the internet is vast, but my time is limited. You got to let me catch up. And I think that's the biggest issue.
Can I say one controversial statement about trans people? And I'm going to let's see if we can get out in trouble here. I think, and I say this as a person who lives with a woman, and I go, like I said, I box a lot, and I've noticed when you put hormones in your body, when you don't put hormones in your body, and like I just go to a gym, the testosterone level jumps in me. I am testy with people. I'm like, what's up? I might be a nice guy, but I'm like, what's up? And estrogen too. Like estrogen, when it gets high in women with certain week, they get just testy, and we all agree on that. So if you are injecting that in your body, there's physically no way for you not to be testy. Like I'm not saying that they're not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Their problems aren't bad. I'm just saying like it's just on the surface level of outrage. It's like, well, we got to.
You're
outrage.
a horrible person.
I am. I'm just saying you cannot test it.
But how funny if that's in the zeitgeist where they're like, oh, sorry, I just got a shot of hormones.
Yes.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
That's all. My bad. I was just
All right, we
crazy.
got to wrap this up. These guys are fantastic.
Liz Meili and Seaton Smith. They'll be running the New York City Marathon this Sunday. You can track them on the NYC Marathon app, and they're performing at the DiGregorio Family Foundation benefit show tomorrow night at New York Comedy Club. Liz Meili, Seaton Smith, Rich Voss, and Judy Gold. NewYorkComedyClub.com for tickets. And Liz's albums, Emotionally Exhausting and Mind Over Melee, are available now on iTunes and all streaming services. And Seaton's album, Bologna Meat, is available on iTunes and all streaming services.
And they're both brilliant. Follow these guys. All right, that's it for us. Earl, you got anything to plug? Nothing at all? You good?
I'm good.
All right. That's it for us.
Thanks for having us.
Take care. See you guys tomorrow.